Hey. All right, we are back. Sorry for the delay. Didn't miss anything as far as we know. We'll catch up on stuff for those of you just joining us. We've been at this since 6:50 this morning. Took a little break there. Actually, we had a little computer, internet, website snafu. So we're cranking it back up. So spread the word. We're back. And I think Mr. Bergen will be joining me here shortly so he can share in the fun. And let's see here. I want to get back to where am I? Let's see here. Ethan Burke flipped from Michigan to Texas. Texas picking up some guys here today, picking up some dudes, as they say, picking up some dudes. Feel free to hit us up with any questions. We had to reboot the whole thing. So those who were lined up doing questions previously, we had to cut you loose. There he is.
Hey.
Yeah. Let's go back here. Good morning this morning.
Good morning, National Signing Day. Sorry for the unshaven look. I'll take care of that a little bit later, but good to be on. How are things going this morning?
How you like the football in your forehead?
I thought it was very, very nice. I could move around it. I'll try and catch it myself. I'm not.
When I planned that, I didn't think about having another person there and the football would being in their forehead.
No, I like the touch. I like the touch. I think it looks good.
Yeah, graphics.
So judging by what I've been able to glean so far this morning, the biggest surprise is Jayshon Barham's decommitment, if you will, and signing and flipping to Maryland.
I would say so. As far as anything local, I would say so. What do you think about that coming at the 11th hour?
I was going to ask you, in your long career of covering recruiting, I'm sure this happens often, but normally wouldn't it happen if he were from let's say if he were a South Carolinian and had committed to, I guess it is that way. Why wouldn't you have just committed to Maryland on Saturday? If the pull was there, and obviously someone talked to him between Saturday and today or yesterday that got him to flip back with the home state team. I find it interesting, and I don't want this to come off as critical of the young man because this is a huge decision for them, and I can't imagine the pressure on them. But when you commit to a school 4 days before signing day, you would think that's pretty solid. And I'm just wondering how often that happens, and perhaps maybe a reason or two why it happens.
Well, mama, uncle, family reasons, not wanting to leave home. Again, you go back to last Saturday, and he was supposed to do it at 3, and he delayed it for an hour, which when that happened, it opened up in my mind, well, something funny's going on here. Hang on a second. Hang on. We got another one in for the Gamecocks. It is Mr. Thomas. Mr. Thomas is in for the Gamecocks. That's the newest one. I don't think we've missed anybody while we were away. So Brian Thomas Jr., son of an NFL player, is in the house with South Carolina. What do you think about him?
No, very, very little. As I mentioned,
you're not a recruiting guru.
Recruiting guru. No, I'm on here to add valid questions, I hope, and give you a break or two from 2.5 hours of talking nothing but solid recruiting this morning. But in terms of breaking down the players, no, I'll leave that to your skills.
There are no skills involved with that. There are no skills involved. No, anyway, when the kid delayed it for about an hour, I'm thinking, there's second thoughts going on. They ended up picking South Carolina. And then I talked to his coach afterwards, and, everything, he said all the right things and talked about the relationship. Relationships were important to the kid. Mike Peterson had built a very strong relationship with him, and seemed like that was going to carry the day. I don't know. I didn't see any inkling of this really from any of the insider types. I mean, there was stuff like, well, he's up in Maryland, and Maryland will keep trying to turn him, but I didn't see anything solid to indicate that was going to happen.
You just wonder, and you talked about the hour delay in the commitment on Saturday, and you had me on commitment watch Saturday, so I was keeping a sharp eye on that. And you wondered, actually, some of the news that came out once he had that delay was, okay, he's now going to commit to Maryland. And I think it became as big a surprise as it would have been today that he signed with Maryland. I think it became as big a surprise that he committed to South Carolina on Saturday. So obviously the young man was having second, third, and fourth thoughts, it appears.
Yeah. And again, once the dead period hits, you can talk to him on the phone, and I guess you can text him and all that, but you can't see him in person. And so he's got the family up there, the family pressure. I'll try and reach the coach later on to see if there's anything he wants to add to the story.
All right.
So with this one in for South Carolina, and by the way, Chris, if you hadn't noticed, we're being very casual here.
Yes. So you won't mind the fact that my dog is trying to eat through some of my old statistics
No. And I've had
of coastal basketball in the background.
I've had Winnie outside a couple of times, and I actually started upstairs, but my internet was so slow. And I've got this what you call a full house internet thing,
Mm-hmm.
but it was so slow I couldn't waste the time up there, so I moved down. So the Gamecocks are still waiting on Keenan Nelson, Jamal Weiss, Demetrius Watson, DeAndre Martin, Nick Amanawari, Ryan Brubaker, Anthony Rose, Emery Floyd, DeQuandre Smith, Kylie Corton, Landon Sampson, and Xavier Short.
And I guess Keenan Nelson of that group is the biggest one still off the board, if you will, that has yet to sign. If you don't factor in Spencer Rattler into that mix, is that fair?
Yeah, and Rattler's in,
right?
Yeah, he's in, and so is the tight end Austin Stogner. They put them out first thing this morning. Yeah, though I really like Amanawari, and I like watching. Amanawari had 232 tackles this year.
I like the fact he's local too.
Yeah,
I think a lot of people enjoy seeing him play. That they grew up in well, he's an Irmo kid, correct?
Correct.
Yes. So having local kids, South Carolina football when it was at its best under Spurrier was mostly because they were able to keep the top players in state. And I think that's something Shane Beamer's got. He obviously understood because he worked with Spurrier and helped sort of build that reputation. And they've got to figure out a way to do that again. I think in keeping some of the top players in state, even though they've lost a few of the top receivers to Clemson, has Antonio Williams, and I know Adam Randall has signed. I saw his video, and that's something else I've noticed, Phil. Boy, give the at least the Power 5 schools a lot of credit to their media department and their social media department. These videos that they're putting together just to announce the signings of these players, impressive stuff, really impressive stuff.
Well, they got to pay these guys something for doing something, Hey, am I seeing? Is this new news about Ajo going to South Florida?
No. Gosh, did that happen over the weekend?
I'm asking you.
Yes, it is not new news.
Okay.
I want to say that occurred.
I know Ray Thornton is going there, and I know that previously Mikey Dukes announced for South Florida.
Maybe it's new news that he has decided to go to South Florida, not new news that he was in the transfer portal.
Right. He's been in the transfer portal. Knew that. Let me just see something here. I just saw somebody tweeting about 3 guys from Clemson going to South Florida. So Jeff Scott is going to hang his hat on some Clemson. I hate to say Clemson rejects. He weren't Clemson rejects, but I mean, guys that couldn't hang in there with Clemson. He's going to build a lot of his. Here it is right here. It looks like he 5 minutes ago he just put it out. You can't stop a beast who's starving for a better life.
Wow.
Yeah.
And I think, that's to me, I think that might be a bigger, not a bigger loss, but a big loss for Clemson because he may not have been as good as they had hoped right off the bat. But here's a guy that played in all 12 games for them, had a pretty good game, got his first start against Syracuse. I think he's a guy that they could have developed at the wide receiving position. And I think he'll do nicely at South Florida.
Yeah, but think about this. I mean, certainly Clemson didn't push him out, right? He was going to be a player for them.
Sure.
He was going to get his snaps. And, I mean, just compare the two. South Florida. You ever been to Tampa and to the South Florida campus and all that kind of stuff?
Have not been to the campus, have been to Tampa a couple of times, they play at Raymond James Stadium too, don't they, where the Bucks play?
Mm-hmm.
Nice facility for an NFL team. I don't know that it translates as well for a college team.
Well, I mean, just think about the difference, though. I mean, you're playing for Clemson. You're playing for typically national honors, and, you're on a beautiful campus with everything right there, with the best facilities in the world, and you want to leave and go to South Florida. Now, I mean, and he's from Canada. He's not a Floridian. He's from Canada. He went down to Florida, I think, for some schooling, but that doesn't make any sense to me from a pure college football standpoint, and not even academic standpoint. That doesn't make any sense to me.
And he doesn't have a relationship with Jeff Scott either, does he? I mean, he wouldn't have, I guess maybe early in his recruitment, would he have had a relationship with Jeff Scott? But Scott's been down there long enough that he would not have been the primary recruiter for a Joe Ajo, would he?
No, let's see. Joe Ajo was what, in his second year? Second or third year?
Sophomore. Yeah. It's sophomore this year.
True sophomore.
Mm-hmm.
Second year. I'm sure they had some contact.
Right.
Because, I mean, you start recruiting these guys a year or so.
4.
Yeah. So I'm sure they had some contact. How close they were and all that, I don't know. But stands to reason that they had some contact.
Mm-hmm.
Still waiting on the last one to come in for Clemson. And that is the linebacker from Hays, Kansas, Jaron Kanak.
That was the one you mentioned last night that they might have a little concern about it, whether or not he signs today, correct?
Correct. And I'm just saw a little tweet here from Mike Peterson. I wonder who this was aimed at. Hashtag Buck Life. It ain't for everybody. In other words, his buck position.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
I wonder if that's a little targeted at Mr. Barham there.
I guarantee it is.
Since he opted to go to Maryland, Buck Life. It ain't for everybody. Yeah, I'm sure he's stung by that because I think he really worked that kid hard, and probably once he got him committed. Of course, you never let up because things can happen. You never let up, but he had to be feeling good about it going into the day, I guess, or at least going into yesterday.
Here's why, and I understand Coach Peterson being upset, and I would be too, especially you spend a lot of time, you get a kid to commit to your program, you feel like, all right, he understands what we're trying to do here at South Carolina. He wants to be a part. And then 3 days later, he spurns you to go to the home school. I get all of that. But the one thing I think I would be a little more take a little more discretion in posting social media things that you can kind of read between the lines. Let's assume for a moment he does not have a good experience in Maryland this year. What's the first thing he's going to do? He's going to jump into the transfer portal, John, and then maybe you get him next year. I mean, just because you didn't get him this year does not mean anymore that he's totally out of the mix.
Yeah.
So maybe
I mentioned this earlier. I said, you're celebrating these guys today and you're loving them and they're all the greatest thing to come down the pike. And then in a year from now, a certain percentage of these guys will be in the transfer portal and you'll be dicing them up.
Yeah. So maybe you don't send out those kind of messages because I'm sure that will get back to Jay-Sean. I'm sure he will see that. And it clearly is I think it clearly is a dig at him for not signing with the Gamecocks, and understandably, but I'm not sure you want to put that out. If commitments and signing day meant what it used to mean, where the kids were there for 4 years and then they went on to professional life, whatever that may be, maybe you can do that. But now where the kids can jump into the transfer portal as quickly as they've signed with you, you've got to maybe play it a little more even keel so you don't ruin a relationship that you may want back in 8 months, 12 months. Heck, he may go through spring ball at Maryland and say, you know what, I don't like it up here, and jump in. He can jump into the transfer portal before he even plays a snap with the Terrapins.
I'm sure there's some frustration in that tweet, Lee says hello to you from Texas.
Hello, Lee.
Can you see the messages?
I cannot.
Oh, you can't see the messages. Only I can see the messages. Well,
No,
Lee,
I can't. I flipped over to the comments. Now I can.
okay.
I see Lee saying morning.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah, we had several messages going in the early stream.
Now everybody's at work.
Work. I mean, today's a national holiday. I've been calling for this day, of course, back in when it was originally just in February.
Right.
Now, did you see the story? It came down last night late that the NCAA is Nick Emmanwori has signed with South Carolina.
So that has them up to what total are they up to now? Of the 26 they had to sign?
Well, if you count everybody,
right.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. That'd be 15 in the class. That's accounting for everybody.
Right.
Rattler, Nolan, all the transfer guys. I'm counting those.
And Clemson has signed 11 of their 12.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Yeah.
So Antonio Williams, back to the question I asked you earlier. Antonio Williams.
Oh yeah, he was one of the first ones in.
Got you.
Yeah, he was one of the first ones in. Say something while I tweet this out.
Say something while he tweets this out. Well, it'll be curious to see where all of this, once all this plays out, how the classes look. And here's a question to debate, Phil. Can we get to a point where instead of judging a recruiting class 4 years down the road, after they go through their entire college career and say, you know what, that class of 2021 it was really, really good for Clemson, even though it was really small, or that class for South Carolina was outstanding, even though we thought it would be good, but maybe not this good? Or do we have to now change our entire look and view at recruiting? And is it even possible to gauge a class more than 2 years down the road because of the transfers and how big a deal the transfer portal has become and bringing other players in from other schools? How do you compile and judge a recruiting class? How will Shane Beamer look back on this class 2 years, 3 years from now? Same with Dabo Swinney.
Yeah, those are all legitimate questions. And hang on. Those are all legitimate questions. The big wild card in this thing is the transfer portal, John.
Right.
And how do you gauge the talent that you're bringing in there, and how do you rate that along with the other players you're bringing in from the high school ranks when you think about the overall quality? I mean, you look at South Carolina's class now, and obviously when you bring in the two guys like they brought in from Oklahoma, that's immediate upgrade for their class. So, I mean, that's something you didn't foresee when you were putting this class together from strictly high school recruiting. And then here at the 11th hour, you add these two studs from Oklahoma, and all of a sudden your class has a whole new look to it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it does. And it, I think, leads credence to some folks. And I have seen this, and I've actually believed this myself, but I've seen this on social media leading up to today, that the transfer portal is having such a great effect on high school recruiting. And I don't know that you can gauge classes the way we used to 5-10 years ago. You almost have to have a separate look. All right, the high school kids they brought in, how did they turn out? And the transfers that they brought in, how did they turn out? I don't think you can judge it as a whole anymore in terms of your recruiting classes, because you're bringing in kids that were recruited by somebody else.
That's right. And then you've got to get them to think like you do. You have to kind of reprogram a guy that's transferring in. I mean, this guy has been in another system for 3 years. He's done things a certain way at another school for 3 years. Now he's coming to your place. You've got to kind of reprogram him
in a short period of time, because as I just mentioned with Barham a few minutes ago, if he doesn't like what he's seeing, even as early as spring practice, but certainly into the fall campaign, you may not have him long enough. And obviously he's not going to be able to transfer twice through the portal, John. He's going to have, if he does transfer again, he'd have to sit out, but still you've got to make quick work of getting him involved and getting him into the game about as fast as any of the high school recruits you bring in. I think you can bring a high school recruit along a lot slower, if you will, than you can certainly somebody who transferred in from the portal.
Well, I mean, look, there's no limitation as to how many times you can go into the portal, John, and flush your way out of a program. We've seen it repeatedly. We've seen guys doing it even before they get into a school. They're already into the portal, John. I just saw today where a kid who came out of Belton Honeypath, defensive back, Braylon Oliver. He went to Louisville last year, okay, put himself in the transfer portal, and then he committed to who did he commit to? He committed to somebody. Was it West Virginia? He committed to somebody else, and then he signed with Syracuse today. So, I mean, there's no rhyme or reason in a lot of this. And, of course, who knows? Now, sometimes a school drops a kid, moves on from him, whatever. We don't know that when it happens, but it does happen. Don't know all the details in this case. Braylon Oliver is his name. And he ended up signing with Syracuse today.
Well, hopefully he's found a home. You hate to see the kids that go through 2, 3, 4 different schools. I've seen it. You've obviously seen it watching recruiting as long as you have, but it's starting to become a situation in basketball where you get kids who are playing on their second or third school, and they're still juniors in eligibility. And I just don't know that continuing to move around gives you the same college experience that most people had when you and I were back in the dark ages when we went to school. And times have changed, but I don't know that the change is always for the better.
Yeah, Braylon Oliver, I'm looking at him right here. No, it was Oregon State. I'm sorry. He had originally committed to Oregon State, and he ended up signing with Syracuse. So do something on that. Have you seen anything else new come down in the last little bit?
Have not. Nothing of, I think, at least local interest.
What about Coastal? Take a look at Coastal's class. Why don't you update us on Coastal signings if you can bring those up on their website?
What's interesting about Coastal too, they're having to deal with this while they're down in Orlando getting ready for the bowl game on Friday.
Oh, here's a note from Dabo Swinney. Hang on, this is interesting. Hang on. Let me go bring this back up. Something's going on with Kanak. Hang on. Dabo is doing his signing day show there at Clemson. I'm not watching it. They're streaming it. And I just saw a tweet from TigerNet, our boys over there, David Hood. Something that Dabo just said. Now, I say something that's going on. I don't. Here we go. Dabo Swinney indicates in a signing day ceremony, they're signing 12 today. 12 of the 13 are announced already. Athlete Jaron Kanak is not in. So there is something up with that. And
he's from Kansas, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Is it conceivable that Brent Venables is working on him?
Oh, yeah.
Venables
that's going on.
Him.
Well, I don't know if Venables is working on him as much as he's working on Venables. I think this is a case where, this is a real touchy situation. The one thing Venables, I'm sure, doesn't want to be perceived as doing is poaching from Clemson.
I get it. Sure.
The guys that he recruited, the guys he had a relationship with, the last thing he wants is for his fantastic reputation at Clemson to be soiled. And the quickest way to do that is a misstep in recruiting.
But the funny thing is, to play devil's advocate and on Brent Venables' side of the coin, it could be perceived that way even if he doesn't do anything. Because it's not as if, let's assume for a moment, Kanak changes his mind and signs with Oklahoma. The immediate reaction is going to be, well, Venables stole him away from Clemson. Even if Venables had nothing to do with it, outside of the fact that Kanak wanted to play for him wherever he was. So it's as you pointed out, it's really a touchy situation, and coaches get, in my mind, they get put in a position where if a kid changes his mind, they can't come out and say that. They can't come out, no, I had nothing to do with that. He just wanted to come play for me. That makes him look even worse. So I don't know how if this young man ends up signing with Oklahoma, and not saying he will, but speculation, if he does sign with them, Brent Venables may unavoidably come out looking bad.
Yeah.
And it's not necessarily his fault.
Yeah. Former Hammond offensive lineman Drew Bobo signed with Georgia. He committed a couple of days ago. You remember him, Mike Bobo's son.
Yes, sir. Mm-hmm.
I wonder if this is a precursor to Mike Bobo getting back on the staff at Georgia. In some way, maybe as an analyst behind the scenes. I mean, this is a very tight family, and they all went together. When he came from Colorado State to Columbia, of course, family came with him. And when he left and went to Auburn, family went with him. And now that he's out of a job, you see what Kirby's doing. He's pulling in these old Bulldog guys that he knows are buddies of his and all that, Muschamp in particular, putting him on the staff. And now Muschamp's going to be the defensive coordinator, I guess, at some point, right? Don't you think with Lanning gone, they're going to eventually name Muschamp as the full-time coordinator?
Yeah, it seems like that's the perfect pathway for him. And I think that will work out well for Will Muschamp. I believe he's going to go down as one of these guys who is a really, really good assistant coach, terrific recruiter, just not a very good head coach.
Yeah.
And that's okay. There are some people that are carved out to be, second string, if you will, not leaders, but assistant coaches. And there's nothing wrong with that. If that's what your pathway and that's where your skill set is, take advantage of that opportunity.
I dropped my pen.
Well, while you pick your pen up, you asked about Coastal's recruiting.
I'll tell you what you can do to help. You want to help?
Sure.
You handle you go to the different sites and give us the updates. Like Citadel's putting up signees now, Coastal, Wofford. You run through those. Okay. That'll give me a chance to catch up on some things.
All right. So for Coastal, interesting class they are putting together because of two areas of need. They desperately need offensive linemen. And I think they addressed that last year. And you can never have enough offensive linemen. And secondly, Coastal's recruiting in just a short period of time, maybe not on par, obviously, with Clemson, but it has become much more regionally than you would expect because they have signed already this morning Evan Crenshaw, who is a punter. He's out of Florida. They love Florida. Coastal does a terrific job recruiting the state of Florida, as most schools here in South Carolina enjoy going down there. Caleb Hutchinson has signed a defensive back out of Westside High School in Augusta, Georgia, not Westside up in Anderson. They've also, let me scroll back up here a little bit further. All right, they've also signed Jared Cameron Jr. He is from Pembroke Pines, Florida. He is a defensive back. Got some young guys in that defensive secondary, so a little more help back there will certainly be welcome. Let's see, DeAndre Coleman, who is an Alabama native, a wide receiver, 6'2", 200 pounds. Looks like a good-looking kid there for Coastal. They've also signed an offensive lineman out of Pennsylvania. His name is Frankie Richardson. Let's see, Nick Del Grande, another offensive lineman out of Lancaster, Pennsylvania, 6'4", 280. A little bit bigger than what Coastal has up front. They've got they like to call them the Mighty Mites, who will be trying to maneuver the Northern Illinois defensive front out of the way coming up on Friday at the Cure Bowl. They've also gone down into Florida to pull out another defensive back. His name is Matthew McDore out of Winter Garden, Florida. And let's see, that may be everybody. Nope. Dontrell Jackson Jr. has also signed with Coastal, another kid from the state of Florida out of Harvey, Illinois. I beg your pardon. He is a quarterback, the first quarterback signing they've got, along with Alan Henry, who is from West Memphis, Arkansas, off the defensive line, transfer from Coffeyville Community College. Coastal has also picked up from Ocala, Florida, Elijah Hopkins, a defensive back from the state of Florida. From Hoover, Alabama, Corey Warren, a defensive lineman. And I believe that may complete Coastal's class. Beach Access 22 for National Signing Day with the Chanticleers, who are down in Orlando getting ready for the Cure Bowl. They've got practice. I think they may be practicing, Phil, as we speak this morning down in Orlando getting ready for Friday.
So did they leave the recruiting office back in Conway, or are they down in Orlando with them?
That's a great question. This is probably one of the worst days to be actually trying to play football when you're trying to figure out, who's going to play for us next year.
All right. Why don't you flip over to Wofford and let's update. No. Let's do Citadel. While you do that, I'll go through the Clemson confirmed signees. So You've got Jaden Lucas, Colin Sadler, Robert Gunn, Josh Sapp, Adam Randall, Antonio Williams, Toriano Pride, Sherrod Koval, Jack Smith, and Cade Klubnik. And apparently, based on what Dabo Swinney is saying at his little celebratory gathering there at Clemson, that's going to do it for today. And looks like the committed player, Kanak, is hung up between them and Oklahoma. This is most unusual for Clemson because committed players to Clemson don't usually uncommit. And it goes back to what we were talking about before. Is it the culture and the winning that attracts them? Or is it the relationship with the coaches and the recruiters that they deal with most closely? In this case, they haven't had any offensive players to decommit. So Tony Elliott, his departure from that standpoint didn't impact the offensive guys. Who are the offensive guys? Klubnik, he's coming. The two receivers are coming. Sapp is coming. And the two offensive linemen are coming. Mm-hmm. Okay. But defensively, they might lose if Kanak doesn't come through. That's four defensive players, all related strongly to Venables, because he recruited all four of those guys directly. And, you're going to tell me the relationship, this is where I get lost sometimes. The relationship with Venables carries more weight with these kids than the culture of Clemson and the winning and everything else that Clemson has to offer?
Well, and that's an interesting point you bring up about the culture. And Phil, is that part of having a guy like Brent Venables, who was so good at what he did as defensive coordinator, that he developed those relationships because I want to go play for that guy because his defense gives up 2 points a game. He's going to get me to the NFL. Yeah, I'll play in a Clemson uniform, but I want to play for that guy in particular because he's the best at what he does in the country. Nobody's better. And then when he leaves to become head coach, do you start thinking, all right, as much as Clemson wins and as good a culture and family and at campus and everything that Clemson has going for it, but the guy I feel can get me to the NFL the best is no longer there. Maybe I want to go play for him at Oklahoma. If he can do that as a defensive coordinator, what can he do for me as head coach at a place like Oklahoma? Mm-hmm. It's not as if he went to Middle Tennessee State. He's coaching at a major Power 5 program. And from a recruit standpoint, they probably look at Oklahoma and Clemson on par with one another in terms of facilities and campus life and everything else. And now the guy that I have the most respect for, who's been recruiting me since I was in the 8th grade, I want to go play for him. I don't care where he is. And especially if he's at a school that I know produces NFL talent.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. All right, what you got on Citadel?
All right, the Citadel is going to be a little more difficult to discern because of when they post. They don't necessarily post the young man's hometown nor his position, but they pulled in Josh Cole. And if you'll give me a second, I can click on his playing card. Mm-hmm. They actually have little playing cards for the kids at the Citadel. Mm. He is a linebacker running back out of Fellowship Christian School in Roswell, Georgia. So you figured the Citadel is going to get as many running backs as possible to run that option attack of theirs. They have also signed Phil Barnes, and Barnes is
got a good first name.
Yes, he does. Philip. He's out of Medina, Ohio.
Here's the question: 1 L or 2?
He's got 2.
Oh, he's the intelligent version of Philip. If you have 2 L's, that means you're more intelligent. If you have 1 L, it means you're better looking. So I went with the 1 L.
Did not understand that. I'm glad you explained that to me.
I prefer
the value
looks,
of the L.
I prefer
National Signing Day.
Looks over brains.
And Philip Ben Barnes, it appears, just judging by his Twitter page, that he is a left-footed place kicker.
Ooh. Okay.
But then I look at him, and boy, he is a rather built place kicker. So that may be something he does on the side. So he is in darn good shape for play, and that'll work out well.
They just don't have it. They didn't give you a list. There's just no list there of signees.
No, it just runs through the Citadel football on their Twitter. I'm just going through their Twitter page.
Okay.
and looking
Oh,
at
no,
the
no, no. You
guys.
need to go. No. That's the hard way. You need to go to their
Well, I'm
website.
trying to make it difficult.
You need to go to the website. You're
All
going to
right.
spend all day if you try to. I had the hard time like trying to read the Furman and even Coastal because they were writing their names in script.
Yes.
Computer script, and I'm like, I can't make this name out. No, you got to go to the website. Go ahead, go to the website.
All right.
I'll
I'll scroll over to the website here at the citadelsports.com.
Yeah, that's good. You do that.
Hey, I got it right though.
Up. We have breaking news. This will
give you some music for this. Yeah.
Ryan Brubaker is in with the Gamecocks.
Offensive lineman, correct?
Yeah, like this guy now. Like this guy big time from up in Pennsylvania. Could have gone to Penn State where his dad played and committed to South Carolina and stuck with it. Offensive tackle Ryan Brubaker signed with. So that's a good one in the house with the Gamecocks.
Yeah, they desperately need help on the offensive line.
I like their 3 offensive linemen that they've got: Brubaker and Maines and Henry.
All right, here's a question for both teams. Biggest area of need for Clemson, biggest area of need for South Carolina. And with the folks that Clemson has in the house today, did they address that need? And for the ones that are supposed to be in or will be in for the Gamecocks, do you think they address that need?
Yeah, we'll talk about that once you finish up with that Citadel list.
Well, I am trying to find, because it's not nearly as easy on the Citadel. They don't have a National Signing Day homepage on their athletic website. Let me go back to their homepage and see.
As I told people at the start, this is not formal. This is informal. This is just a couple of guys sitting here chopping it up on recruiting. You like that, chopping it up?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, over a couple of beers at 10 o'clock in the morning.
I wish I did. That's too early to be drinking beer. I'm drinking Bloody Mary. Actually, I'm drinking V8, if you can see in my cup.
I've got cream soda.
Hey, isn't that look at my video. Doesn't that look disgusting?
Yeah, that's I'm not a tomato juice guy, so I love tomatoes.
It's not tomato juice, it's V8.
V8, yes. I love tomatoes. I just don't like tomato juice per se.
I love tomatoes. I don't know why I've got a hankering for tomatoes.
All right, Phil, I'm going to go back to the Twitter page. I was having up there with the Citadel.
What's up with the Bulldogs, man? Come on.
Hey, they're not flashy. They don't need to flash. Flash is not what the Citadel makeup is all about. It's hard work and tough. Don't need flashy splash pages and the like.
All right. Go back to where you can get the work done.
Josh Cole was in and Phil Barnes in for the Citadel. You also have in Avery Dixon, who is appears to be a defensive back out of Lynchburg, Virginia, ran a 4.440. So he should be able to cover some guys for sure. Citadel has also brought in Sawyer Whitman, and Sawyer is from Gaffney.
That's good.
Yes. Anybody you can get from Gaffney, can't tell exactly. Looks like perhaps a offensive lineman.
He is. I remember him.
Yep. So Sawyer Whitman in the fold for the Bulldogs. Let's see. Also, we have Chase Burton in the mix, and Chase is from TL Hanna. So obviously doing a nice job. Looks like a wide receiver from Hanna. Interesting. I've always found this interesting for the Citadel and Army and the different schools who run more the triple option attack. What is your sell to a wide receiver?
You won't catch many passes, but the ones you catch will be deep down the field.
You may go 70 yards for a touchdown.
That's right. Well, just think about, listen, one of the greatest inexplicable football developments of all time has to be the fact that Megatron came from Georgia Tech in that triple option offense. He was there under Paul Johnson. Am I right about that? I'm pretty sure.
That is correct. That
he was there
correct.
and how he went on to the NFL to be one of the great receivers of all time is one of the great things that you can't explain about football.
No, and he was a freak of nature, both at the NFL level for sure, but certainly at the collegiate level as well. Citadel class is, at least as of right now, that's it for them. The 6 players that I ran through a couple of moments ago. So that's
All
who
right.
they have in.
Switch gears and try the website at let's go to Wofford. Go to Wofford's website. See what you can find. In the meantime, for those just joining us, I'll fill you in on the signees. For Clemson, everybody's done for the day. It's 12 in for the Tigers. Jaden Lucas, Colin Sadler, Robert Gunn. Let me give positions. Cornerback, Jaden Lucas. Offensive tackle, Colin Sadler. Place kicker, Robert Gunn. Tight end, Josh Sapp. Receiver, Adam Randall. Receiver, Antonio Williams. Cornerback, Toriano Pride. Safety, Sherrod Koval. Punter, Jack Smith. And quarterback, Cade Klubnik. So that's it for the Tigers. Dabo Sweeney saying those 11 of their 12 commitments have signed. The one they're waiting on, obviously, is Jaron Kanak, linebacker out of Hayes, Kansas. And I'll do some snooping around here when I have a moment, see if I can find out what people are saying. But that's where we are there.
Mm-hmm.
And as far as the Gamecocks are concerned, you have quarterback Braden Davis. You have quarterback Spencer Rattler. Tight end Austin Stogner, offensive tackle Kaysen Henry, defensive tackle Felix Hickson, offensive tackle Grayson Maines, cornerback Kawan Banks, linebacker Donovan Westmoreland, linebacker Stone Blanton, safety Peyton Williams, linebacker Nick Amanawari, offensive tackle Ryan Brubaker, the last one in for the Gamecocks. They're still waiting on Keenan Nelson, Jamal Weiss, Demetrius Watson, DeAndre Martin, Anthony Rose, Emery Floyd, DeQuandre Smith, Khalik Horton, Landon Sampson, and Xavier Short.
Do you think when these kids commit and say, Coach, I am signing, I will sign at 9:00, so you should have my email in by 9:05? Or do the coaches have no idea when these kids are going to send their, their LOIs into them?
No. It's all planned.
Okay.
Believe me, at this stage, they know exactly what the players are supposed to do.
So Shane Beamer is not sweating out those other guys.
I don't know about his, perspiration level right now, but I'll just say that they know it's pre-planned, and they tell him, I'm going to sign. Now, here's the thing. The coaches, they want these guys signed and their LOIs sent in as quickly as possible. They want you signed as soon as close to 7, because they don't want anything to happen. I've told you the great story about the player in Atlanta. This is back in the 80s. The player in Atlanta, and this would be before. No, I think we had internet back then. I think Twitter was going on. Yeah, because I tweeted this out. It had to be back maybe in the 90s. And the player is there at his school for a signing ceremony. And I'm talking to his assistant coach on a cell phone, who I've been talking to through recruiting to help me out. And I said, okay, everything good to go? And he goes, oh, yeah. He's dressed in all his Gamecock gear, and he's set to go in and sign with the Gamecocks in a few minutes. I said, okay, fine, thanks. And I took that as that being over with, and tweeted out that so-and-so was signing with South Carolina. Well, he goes in there, sits down at the table, walks away from the table, goes and meets with his parents in a side room, sits back down, and signs with Auburn. So, I mean, it can happen in a moment's notice like that for whatever reason. So my point in saying all
this morning,
I don't know if that happened with Barham. I don't know if he went to the school to sign and it was in Gamecock garb and signed with Maryland, or just flat out just said, you know what, I'm going to Maryland and signed with them. I don't know how that went down yet. We'll try and find out if we can get the coach later. But that's a story that I had from the past from a kid in Georgia. And he went on to be a pretty good player for Auburn. So my point is, it can happen at the last moment. So coaches want to get these things signed and in as soon as possible. And sometimes a player will say, well, I'm signing at 3:00. Well, that's the public signing. He's already signed his LOI and sent it in. So there's the LOI signing that they try to get in as early as possible. The coaches do. And then there's the public signings. But then again, there's some guys that drag it out for whatever reason, like we're having now. I don't know why some of these guys haven't gone ahead and signed and sent their papers in. It could be just scheduling around their school. They can't get down to the office or whatever the case may be. I don't know. Waiting on their parents to get away from work. Parents have to sign these things, and there could be a number of different reasons.
By the way, we have a question on our StreamYard chat as well from Tanner. He says, Corn, do you think Beamer has any surprises from the portal John, receivers, etc.?
Yeah, I do. I think he'll have somebody. I can't tell you who, but am I being split by the screen? I'm almost out of the picture.
Over in the middle.
Hang on. How's that?
Much better. So you do think he's still got some surprises in store?
Maybe not today, but I mean, you don't. The transfer people don't have to sign today. They don't have to do anything today. So that'll be done over the next couple of weeks. They got a couple of weeks until we get into January and the next semester of school starts. So between now and I would say January, just throwing out a number, January 10th, I think you'll see them do something in the portal with receivers. They have to. I think they realize they've got to find another playmaker or two at wide receiver.
So the answer to my question for the Gamecocks, you believe receiver the biggest area of need, and maybe they haven't quite addressed it. And can they fully address that this year?
Well, now that they've got the quarterback transfer, then certainly I think receiver becomes receiver. Oh, you look at their team, but now look, they got to think about they don't have a running back in the class. I think running back might be another hot spot for them. And look, you're losing Kevin Harris. I believe he's turning pro.
Right.
And you've already lost Quandre White. So now you got Marshawn Lloyd and you've got Juju McDowell and you got Rashad Amos. All of a sudden you become very thin in the running back room.
How about Clemson? What do you believe their biggest area of need was going into signing day, and have they addressed it today? And has it changed with all the decommitments and transfers?
Yeah, obviously their defense has been hurt, and if they lose Kanak, that's 4 defensive players. So obviously their defense, you're talking about losing high-level defensive players, a defensive end, 2 defensive backs, and a linebacker. So that smarts. That really smarts. With a smaller class, when you just think about their personnel, where do they need help? I mean, I think they're good at running back.
I would agree.
With Klubnik coming in and Uyangale return. Now, the problem is, as we sit here today, this is their team. After the bowl game and after all the signing, and who knows what their roster is going to look like. There could still be departures for one reason or another. But as it stands right now, they got the quarterback they wanted. You always want to get a quarterback in your class. They got that. They got a couple of offensive linemen. Maybe they would like to have had another offensive linemen. They've got what's interesting is they've got no defensive linemen in this class.
That's really surprising.
They don't have a defensive lineman in the class. I mean, it's a very small class. It's 11. It's 11 right now. That's and 2 of them, here's the surprising thing. 2 of them are specialists. So there's only 9 so-called regular position players in the class. You subtract the 2 specialists. That's tiny.
But the way Clemson recruits, I mean, when we roll around to February 2nd, will they add 13 more players, 14? I mean, would they continue to work on the class?
Their February signing day will be very interesting.
Might actually be bigger than today.
Well,
perhaps.
I don't know. I mean, they must have plenty of scholarships with all the departures they've had. And you get the 7 more scholarships that the NCAA is letting you add to the class. So yeah, there's going to be a lot more recruiting ahead for Clemson over the next several weeks leading up to February.
All right, let me get you an update on the Wofford Terriers. Speaking of small classes, they've only gotten in 4. Don't know if that's the plan for today, but Bryson Dickerson, a 6'4" tight end out of Bowman, Georgia, along with Latham McComas, a 6'4", 280-pound offensive lineman from Westchester, Ohio, Kyle Parsons, who is a running back out of Weddington, North Carolina, and then Braylon Smith-Sapp, a defensive lineman out of Myrtle Beach, played at St. James over in Murrells Inlet. And that is what the Wofford Terriers have in thus far.
We have crossed. I tell you, it really goes fast. We're about 3.5 hours into this thing, and it hardly feels like it.
Well, I appreciate you lumping me into the we, because you've been at this for 3.5 hours.
Well, when I say
me, only about an hour.
I'm not a me guy. I'm a we guy. Okay.
And I am also trying to split time here and think some basketball later on tonight with Coastal as well. So against Methodist University.
What, Baptist wasn't available?
Baptist not available this year. Neither was Lutheran.
I'm really looking forward to that marquee matchup tomorrow down there.
First ever meeting with Regent College. So it could be interesting tomorrow for sure.
And where are they from?
Oh, gosh. I have to. I haven't looked that far ahead.
You don't know where
one
Regent
game at a
is
time.
from?
Well, you know what? I may not know, but Google knows.
Yes.
Regent College is, I don't think it's the one from British Columbia. Regent College, if this is indeed the same place. Now, it looks like a graduate school. I'll get back to you on that one, Phil.
All right, let's see here. You all right? You all right?
Yes.
Okay. Looking to see if
I think it's actually in Virginia. Phil,
in Virginia?
Virginia, yes, sir.
Okay.
Now we got that solved. The great mystery of Regent.
All right, checking out the Gamecocks. Nothing new yet to add to their list of signees at this point. So why don't you check out, we did Wofford. Why don't you head over to Furman? Let's run down the Furman signees.
All right.
If
See
you
what
would.
the Paladins have been up to this morning. Basketball team gave North Carolina a scare for about 30 minutes last night.
Sure did.
But then that 3-point well ran dry. And the problem is when you play a team like North Carolina and you're Furman, you don't have the size that those guys do. North Carolina is going to be one of the bigger teams anybody will play.
Dabo Sweeney says 9 of the Clemson's 12 signees will enroll early. Wait a minute. I'm missing somebody. He said 12 signees. Unless he's including Jaron Kanak in his thinking. 9 of Clemson's, I'm seeing a tweet here. 9 of Clemson's 12 signees is how they put it, but I don't see, am I missing somebody? Let's see here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. You are, Corn. Who are you missing? Okay. We've talked about him. I don't have him on my master sheet. Wade Woodaz, for some reason, is not on my master sheet. So let me fix that while you go over Furman.
He did sign. I saw that earlier today.
Yes.
Furman also, like the Citadel, does not have a page on its websites for football. So we'll go to the Twitter Furman football.
They're not putting them on their websites?
As of right now.
What a pain.
Furman, more concerned about final exams at Furman. This is Furman, Phil.
Right.
You got to take care of academics first.
Understand.
Football as good as their football program is, that comes second. All right, they've gotten Charles Ingram the 5th is in. He's their most recent signee. He is a 3-star athlete out of Nashville, Tennessee. Let's see what else we have here for Furman. They have also brought in Malachi Harrison. Malachi is a defensive lineman with a 3.5 GPA, speaking of Furman academics. So he is into the fold. They have also brought in, I love this name, Maddox Epperson.
Ooh.
A 6'1" center out of Aledo, Texas. I've always found this interesting about Furman. Because of, first off, that campus just being as pretty as it is, but also the academics that they bring in, how good the football program has been over the years. They're able to expand their recruiting base, and they go somewhat national themselves. Jaquan Smith is in out of Cherokee Bluff High School. He's a defensive back. He was a first-team all-region performer. I'm not sure exactly where Cherokee Bluff High School is. Do you know off the top of your head, Phil?
What state?
That's what I'm trying to ascertain.
Oh.
Cherokee Bluff High School. Anyway, that's where Jaquan Smith, the defensive back, from which he hails.
Okay.
Caleb Williams, CW Swag 2 is his Twitter account, in case you're curious, out of Tampa's Jesuit High School. Defensive back as well. GPA up near 4.0.
Mm-hmm. Wait a minute. Furman is putting their GPA on their tweets?
No. This is on the Twitter page of the individual players.
Oh, okay.
This is how proud these guys are. Trey McLeod from Trinity Collegiate has signed with the Paladins as well. Defensive back, athlete out of Darlington. And let's see. Wonder if Rajon Bennett might follow him up to Furman when he signs in February. And then that'd be
a good get.
Rajon Bennett.
Lee tells us that some school you mentioned must be in Virginia Beach.
There we go. Okay.
Yeah, Virginia
That may
Beach.
be where region is. Yes. Carson Jones.
Was he talking about region?
He may be talking about region. Yes.
Okay.
Carson Jones, quarterback out of Maryville High School, was a 2020 6A All-State performer and also a state champion back in 2019 out of Maryville, Tennessee. He has signed with the Paladins, as has Dylan, and I apologize, it's Chiedo, Cheeto, out of Bartram Trail High School down in Florida. And let's see what else we have.
Kentucky just got a big one. Keonta Goodwin. Big.
So you're saying he's a good one.
Lineman.
So you're saying he is a good one.
He's a very good one. He's from, I think he's from Indianapolis, and he just committed to and signed with Kentucky. Wow. Big offensive line pickup.
Back to Furman for a moment. Eli Brasher from Arden, North Carolina at Christ School. He is a 6'4", 285-pound offensive lineman. He has inked his LOI with the Paladins, as has Thomas Pylon he's All-Canadian, was first-team All-Canadian. Appears to be defensive end, defensive tackle from McCallie School up north of the border, it appears. All right, what else does Furman have? Furman's got a big class coming in. Caleb Lyons, and something happened on his Twitter page. Let's try him one more time. And as soon as I get Caleb Lyons to pull up, he is from Piqua High School. He's an offensive lineman. He is the last, and it appears that Piqua is in Wisconsin, maybe. He is the last of the Paladin signees into Greenville as of right now.
Very good. Lee has left us on our feed. Thank you, Lee, for your devotion to us today.
Patronage.
And asking questions and making comments. We appreciate that. All right, let's see. Let's check out. So you did Furman, you did Citadel, you did Wofford. We've done Coastal. And don't think South Carolina State's doing anything today that I've seen. How about Presbyterian? Presbyterian doesn't have a coach. I doubt they're signing anybody. They still don't have a coach.
You wouldn't.
Have you heard anything? Have you heard anything more up that way from your Clintonian sources?
I have not, but retweeted this last night. Monty Dutton, good friend of the program here at Sports Talk, wrote a fascinating piece for his website about the current state of PC football.
Oh,
for you Blue Hose fans, yes, you need to read it. It goes back through some of the history and how PC has tried to wipe away its history prior to joining and becoming a Division I athletic department. Really, really fascinating stuff. If you're a fan of the Blue Hose and don't,
I have to break in.
Oh, no problem.
Landon Sampson has signed with the Gamecocks. The wide receiver is in. Continue.
Very nice. But if you're a fan of PC and don't currently like the direction of the football program, you'll enjoy it. If you are a fan of PC and currently enjoy where things stand and hoping that bigger and brighter things are ahead, it may be a little too scathing for your liking. Yeah.
Really? Scathing?
Monty pulls no punches on the piece. I thought it was spot on, but some people may not, but I enjoyed reading it, and you can see it up on our Twitter page at Sports Talk FC.
Did he name names and point fingers and all that kind of stuff?
Yes. pretty much at the current administration at PC.
Mm-hmm.
And really brought up the point about how they have tried to erase all of their Division II history, as if the athletic department just blossomed in 2009 when it became a Division I program.
Citadel just put out another one. If you want to go back to their Twitter page, it got away from me before I could look at it.
Let's see here. Citadel football. They have added Johnny C. Johnny Crawford III. He is what appears to be an athlete running back out of Moorhaven, Florida. So Johnny Crawford, the latest Bulldog, to get into the mix.
Okay, you want to hit up Charleston Southern?
Let's see what the Bucks are doing. Let's try their website first.
It's a pain to read these things off of Twitter.
I don't mind going back and forth to Twitter, but it doesn't make the best live radio. All right, let's see.
Well, we're not doing radio. We're doing internet.
This is
where
true.
It doesn't matter how sloppy you want to be.
There are no rules.
Have you seen some of the stuff that's done on the internet?
There are no rules. It is like the transfer portal and NLI. There are no rules anymore.
That's right. That's right.
All right, Charleston Southern, to their credit, God bless them, they have actually pieced together a National Signing Day page on their websites.
Nice.
So here's what Charleston Southern, the Buccaneers, have in the mix. Kicking things off with Shane Strand, offensive lineman, 6'5", 285-pounder out of Fredericksburg, Virginia. And I just love his name. He's going to be an actor if football doesn't work for him, or civil engineering, which is his major or will be his major. He is with a name like Shane Strand. I mean, he's destined for Hollywood, isn't he?
I think so. Too bad he's not from like Myrtle Beach, and he could be from the Grand Strand.
No doubt. All right, let's see what else we have for the Buccaneers. They have also brought into the mix Garrett Gordon, another offensive lineman out of Carroll, Georgia. He stands 6'3" and tips the scales at 280 pounds. Noah Summers is in for the Bucks. He is out of Rock Hill, played at Rock Hill High School. Long snapper for them is what they project him as. 6-footer, 195 pounds. Ryan Wright, another offensive lineman, fairly obvious CSU is going heavy up front. 6'4", 295-pounder out of Sevierville, Tennessee's Northview Academy. Let's see what else they have brought in. Hey, get this, Phil. Another offensive lineman. How about this size, though? Owen Spell, 6'7", 310 pounds out of Jessup, Georgia.
Wow.
Had 55 pancake blocks as a junior. How in the world did the schools over in Georgia let him get away?
Sure.
That's a heck of a get, I would think. We interrupt our Charleston Southern report for another breaking signing.
Emory Floyd.
They're starting to come in fast and furious now.
Emory Floyd for the Gamecocks is in the house. That's another good one for them. Don't have to worry about Florida getting in here at the last moment and pulling him away. So Emory Floyd, cornerback, is in. Go ahead.
Well, the last one for Charleston Southern, two-way standouts, projected as a wide receiver, Davion Williams. And not quite sure where Davion, he was selected to play in the 2022 Blue-Gray All-American Bowl in Tampa. So my guess is he is a Floridian. So there you go. That's what Charleston Southern has brought in heavy, pardon the pun, heavy on offensive linemen.
All right. Well, you look up who else we need to check on. So Emory Floyd is in. Let me mark him off the list. Emory. Now, Dabo Sweeney is saying some interesting stuff and some sharp stuff.
He often does.
Larry Williams quotes him as saying, regarding the transfer portal, John, that's my word, not his, quote, "It's chaos right now. Tampering galore. Adults manipulating young men. Education is like the last thing now," end quote. He calls for the return of 1 year sit for transfers and get that year back upon graduation. Quote, "Keep the focus on graduation education." He also said, according to TigerNet, Cade Klubnik reminds him of Deshaun Watson, but maybe faster.
Oh, wow.
And there's one more quote here that I saw that I want to mention. If I can find it, I got so many windows open here in my computer.
Well, while you're looking for that, I wanted to make a comment on that most recent quote from Dabo.
Okay.
Even if you believe that, why would you say that? Remember when he said Deshaun Watson and the team?
Sorry. Oh, wait a minute. I'm wrong. I thought this was false alarm. Go ahead.
Remember when he made the comment about teams in the NFL that passed on Deshaun Watson would be passing on Michael Jordan? How bad does that comment look now, considering the legal issues that Deshaun is dealing with, and the fact he didn't play a snap this year, and who knows when he might return to the NFL? Even if you believe that, and Dabo's not one to mince words, why would you put that kind of pressure on a freshman incoming, where the fan base is now, all right, we've got our third generational quarterback now coming in, a guy who's faster and perhaps better than Deshaun Watson?
Well, I think this kid, I've tried to get him on the show a couple of times without success. So I've never really talked to him, maybe once during the recruiting process. But I think this kid, coming from Austin Westlake, which
really
is like one
program.
of the primo programs, and coached by, that's Todd Dodge, isn't it? One of the most successful coaches down there. I think that's who that is. I mean, I think he cherishes that kind of comparison. I think he wants to be the guy. I think he's coming to Clemson thinking, I'm going to beat out Uiagalelei and I'm going to be the guy. It might not be the first couple of games, but you know what happened? I don't know that Klubnik is in the same stratosphere with Watson and Lawrence. Those are generational quarterbacks.
Right, exactly.
Uiagalelei was supposed to be the third generational quarterback. Hasn't happened yet. Nobody has used that phrase with this kid. You know, really, a couple of years ago when Clemson first started recruiting him, he wasn't thought of as nearly as highly as he is thought of now. And maybe because he's improved a great deal from his sophomore year through his senior year, you give him credit. Maybe he's just improved a lot. And now people are putting him up there at the highest level. So, I mean, if he's of the same ilk as Watson and Lawrence, and they
look out,
they handle it the same way they did previously, he sits on the sidelines, he comes in and plays some the first few games, and then boom, he takes over at some point. I mean, again, you go back in history with Deshaun Watson, he didn't start for much of that first season. It wasn't until they went down and played Florida State and he came in. From that point on, it was his. It was a little bit quicker with Trevor Lawrence. It was like 4 games in. Yeah, it was just after the 4-game mark, and they go to Georgia Tech, and Kelly Bryant can't move the offense at all. And they put Lawrence in late in the first half, and he moved him right down the field for a touchdown. And when he started in the second half, you knew the change had come. And that was that. It was Lawrence the rest of the way, and Bryant left. So we'll see what happens. If Uiagalelei comes out next, I'm assuming Uiagalelei is going to be the quarterback, is going to be there next year. And if he comes out and is on fire next year and playing really good football,
that would be the best of both worlds for Clemson. Then you could have Klubnik. You would hope. You can't redshirt anybody anymore, I don't think, because who stays at one school 5 years anymore?
Yeah.
But that would be the best of both worlds, because you'd have an opportunity to get Klubnik to come in and play in some mop-up duty and understand the offense, especially now that you've got a new offensive coordinator in Brandon Streeter, even though he's going to probably run the same system that he's coached for years. But I think that would be the best of both worlds for them. They've got a very adept quarterback leading them, and the up-and-comer learning on the job.
You want to handle the question from Tanner on our feed there, if you want to address that? Then I'll also comment if you want to.
All right. Tanner again says, do you guys think Beamer retains Greg Atkins? I have major concerns with how our offensive line regressed last year. Hard for me to believe it was just talent with all the blown assignments. It's a really, really interesting take. I still think they don't have quite the talent up front that they need, and hopefully they're addressing that here in the recruiting cycle. But he brings up a fascinating point, Phil. It's pretty much the same offensive line that allowed Kevin Harris to lead the SEC in rushing in a season they won 2 ball games last year. So maybe is Greg Atkins the issue? I don't know. But he might be the easy sacrificial lamb if you're going to make a change on the offensive side. If you don't want to go full hog and knock out your offensive coordinator, Greg Atkins might be your easy take and try and bring in another offensive line coach. I'm not sure.
Well, I don't know. Look, now Greg Atkins went out and recruited these three fine-looking offensive linemen.
Exactly.
And they seem to all like him, Brubaker, Maines, and Henry. You know what you got? You got a bunch of loudmouths on message boards and the fan websites. They get pissed off when they're losing games, and they got to blame somebody from Beamer on down. When they were losing those games, they were all getting blamed. And then most of the venom was spewed at Satterfield. And, you know, look, the offense stunk this season. It stunk. Was it all his fault? I mean, you know, partially. He's the coach. But, I mean, he's trying to make filet mignon here out of chopped steak. And he didn't have a lot of good parts with the offense. Let's just face it. They didn't have a lot of great talent. It starts at quarterback. If you don't have good quarterback play in college football today, or NFL football, or any level of football, Pee-wee on up, you're going to struggle on offense because they've made the offenses so quarterback centric. It's not like the old days. First down and 10 from the 20, turn and hand it to the tailback. 2nd and 5 from the 25, turn and pitch it to the tailback. All right, 3rd down, you're going to throw it. No, and the RPOs put all that much more responsibility on the quarterbacks making decisions, and their decision making and their ability to make a play when they make that decision is everything. So they put so much responsibility on the quarterback that if you don't have a good one and he's not playing well, you're not going to be any good, you know. And look at Clemson. Their quarterback play was inconsistent. Their offense struggled. They had trouble on the offensive line as well.
Exactly. And that was the issue. They were, it was easy to blame the guys up front because early in the season, they couldn't move the ball. They couldn't run the ball. DJ wasn't very adept at passing. He wasn't accurate enough. And when he got no help from the receivers. But where did all the focal points come? Back on the offensive line because they had injuries up front. And
let me go back to real quick what I was going to say. Those same blowhards who've been screaming at Satterfield for the last month are nowhere to be found today because their new savior in Spencer Rattler likes Satterfield and likes his offense and wants to be one of the reasons he chose South Carolina was because of Marcus Satterfield and his offense. And so now let's see how good a coordinator Marcus Satterfield is with a primo quarterback.
Yeah.
And talk to me this time next year.
Yeah, and Greg Atkins probably needs to get that sort of longer leash himself. Does the offensive line perform better when you've got a better threat at quarterback as opposed to most defensive fronts knowing that South Carolina is going to try and run the football first and foremost, and we can stop that. And then when they have to throw it, we'll put them in a position that they've got to throw it, and we can put a lot of pressure on whomever was back there. So yeah. I think, a rising tide lifts all boats. I think that's probably true when you get a really, really good quarterback back there. It makes the entire offense run smoother. Do you have your alert for a signing that I can borrow? Because Wofford has a new sign. Yeah, there we go. Wofford's got another one in the mix. Jalen Marshall from Hiram, Georgia, 6'2", 205-pound outside linebacker, has inked up in Spartanburg with the Terriers.
This is kind of fun. I'm thinking about starting sports talk every day at 7:00 in the morning on the internet, and then stream. Just doing it all day, and then going live on the radio at 6.
Well, you have fun with that.
Oh, you're not gonna join us?
I may pop in from time to time,
but not often.
Did he go away? Yes.
No, I'm here. I'm having these moments where I'm fading out because I'm about to pass out. I'm so tired. All right, so. What other school do we need to hit in South Carolina?
If you want to run through I think we've hit all the Division I programs. Obviously, the 3 FBS. We've talked South Carolina, Clemson, and Coastal. We've gotten through Charleston Southern, the Citadel, Wofford, Furman. You don't believe SC State is doing anything today? Is that correct?
I checked, but I didn't see anything earlier. I didn't see anything. I didn't see where they were putting out anything.
Okay. Who are we missing? I mean, we could run through and check some of the D2 programs if the Newberries of the world.
You can check. I don't know that they're signing anybody today. I don't. You can check Newberry and check. No reason to check PC. They don't have a head coach. We already talked about that. North Greenville, Benedict Allen. They might have some signings. You can check.
Well, the big news on Newberry's homepage is something we've already touched on Sports Talk, and well deserved, is Todd Knight getting a contract extension with them.
Oh, I saw him, by the way.
Season.
You know what? Now, your boy Jamie has cut his hair, right?
Yes, he has.
Yeah, and I saw Coach Knight at the All-Star game, and he's let his hair grow out.
How about that?
He's almost gone mullet-like, not quite. I said, man, all of a sudden you win a championship, you get Coach of the Year, you get a new contract, you get a new stadium, and you're getting all hippie on us here. He goes,
he evidently doesn't
you know how Todd talks. My wife liked it, and she said, don't cut it. So, all right.
Now we get down to it. I was going to ask, did he make a bet the way Jamie Chadwell did with his football team? If they won the Sun Belt, he would grow a mullet. But we now get down to the heart of the matter. The reason Jamie Chadwell cut his hair and the reason Todd Knight is growing out his has to do with everything off the field with their wives. If mama ain't happy, ain't nobody happy.
That's right.
Well, good
Here
for
we
him.
go. Here's something more from Dabo Sweeney. He will, let's see. Dabo Sweeney said Clemson will look to sign. Here you go for February. 1 running back, 1 defensive lineman, 1 linebacker, 1 safety, and maybe 1 corner. I wonder if he thinks, by saying that, well, they don't have a linebacker in this class, and they were only going to take the 1, Kanak. I wonder if that's an indication that he thinks he's going to lose Kanak.
Wow.
And he's got to go and find another one, find another linebacker.
Phil, I hate to put a damper on what has been a lot of fun so far this morning, but I just saw some terrible news on Twitter. Teddy Hefner, good friend of the show, just announcing on Twitter that George Glimpf, former Eau Claire head coach and a legendary name in our state, has passed away.
Oh, no.
I mean, you want to talk about a major void in high school basketball in the state of South Carolina. George Glimpf, according to Teddy Hefner's website, passing away, I'm assuming this morning.
Oh, that just shakes me up.
It's terrible.
I mean, I just don't know what to say.
So
I didn't realize that Coach was in that kind of health situation.
I didn't either. But, I didn't grow up in South Carolina, grew up in North Carolina. But as soon as you get here into South Carolina, you start learning about high school basketball, it takes maybe 3 seconds before someone mentions George Glimpf's name. I mean, the impact he has had on not just the sport, but the young men who played for him over the years at Eau Claire, it's hard to measure.
I mean, that's just
heartbreaking
news. Heartbreaking. I really, as we grow older, and of course those who came before us, the older sports generation, and they start to die out around the state. It really hits home. It really hits home. Coach Glimpf was a fantastic man, and
yes, he was.
He meant so much to the state of South Carolina, and he meant so much to everybody, all races. He worked with everybody. He was a player's coach. He did wonderful things for AAU basketball back when AAU basketball was what it was. It was just a gathering of players in the summer to play together and have teams, and then and then go play in a national tournament. I'm sorry to hear that. That's just very, very terrific. And I'll tell you what, one thing about, you talk about respect around a school. When you went to Eau Claire High School to see Coach Glimpf, of course, not only was he the basketball coach, and I guess maybe he taught, and he had a construction business too. He had a family construction business.
I did not know that.
Yes. Yeah. Had a family construction business. And you walk through Eau Claire. If he saw a student in the hallway that wasn't in a class where that student was supposed to be, and that place was so clean, not all because of him, but I think he had a lot to do with it. You could eat off the floor at Eau Claire, back then. His presence just demanded respect because of how he did things. Now he ran his basketball program, and he was tough on those basketball players. I mean, think about the line of players that he had come out of there too.
I've got two on the top of my tongue, both Barry Manning and Joe Retz. And I was in school with both of those guys and never really knew Coach Glimpf except through them. And the stuff they would say about him, I mean, it's just it's almost the kind of stuff you would say about your dad.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the kind of respect they had for him and what he meant to them in their lives. And those are two outstanding basketball players who went to USC. And Joe Retz's career cut way too short because of a heart issue. I mean, if you ever watched Joe play, you saw NBA talent in him. And Barry Manning was as steady a point guard as you could possibly have imagined. And both of those guys coming out, and they weren't the only ones that ran through the Eau Claire system. But those are just the two that immediately come to mind when I saw that Coach Glimpf had passed away.
Fantastic man. Great family. Sorry to hear. Very sorry to hear. Yeah. Keon Sabb, the former Clemson commitment, signs with Michigan. Not surprised. That was one of the first places you thought about when he decommitted, that he would end up at Michigan.
Is he from up that way? I don't remember.
From New Jersey.
Okay.
But Michigan recruits New Jersey extremely well. Rashawn Gary, the Packer star, is from New Jersey.
Well, and I think it probably didn't hurt matters that they're playing in the college football playoffs this year as Big Ten champions. I think that probably carries a lot of weight too.
I would say so. Interesting, how Clemson's lost these guys. Now, one's gone to Georgia, one's gone to Michigan. I think the other one is going to go to Texas A&M. The Campbell kid.
Yep. By the way, a local interest, at least from the state, Dillon High School running back Nemo Squire has officially signed with East Carolina this morning.
Okay. I'm all shook up over Coach Glenn.
Yeah, sorry to bring that up. It didn't fit, but yeah. I mean, there are very few people that you would stop a show like this for. George Glimpf's one of those.
Yeah, no question about that. Okay, Smitty wants to join us at some point.
Nice.
Oh, here's breaking news. This is no surprise. Jason Brown is in the portal, John.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. So if that's the case, who is the quarterback for USC in the bowl game? It's got to be Zeb Nolan, right? I mean, Doty's not going to be ready.
That's right. That's a good point. You can't. Rattler's not playing.
Are you sure? I asked you this last night. Are you sure they can't play?
You can't. As somebody said to me, I asked that question yesterday. You cannot play. One thing you can't do is play for two schools in the same year.
See, I thought the NCAA is so hands off that the word can't no longer applies.
Here's what Jason wrote. First off, I'd like to thank God for allowing me to be a Gamecock this past year. I want to thank Coach Beamer, Coach Satt, the rest of the coaching staff for taking a shot and believing in me. I want to thank my teammates for giving me some of the best moments of my life. We made memories I will cherish forever. Lastly, thank you, Gamecock Nation, for being unbelievable every week and making me feel loved from day one. With that being said, I will be entering my name into the transfer portal. Thank you, South Carolina, forever to thee.
Wonder what that'll do for the and we have to bring in gambling every now and then. The line on the game currently is somewhere around North Carolina, 7.5 point favorite, almost 8 points.
Mm-hmm.
What in the world will that do? How much more money jumps on the Tar Heels now to push that game, possibly up to 10 points? I mean, Nolan was adequate, no question about it. And they're not even in a bowl game if it's not for Zeb Nolan coming in to rescue them and beating Vanderbilt. But I mean, is he the guy you want going up into a bowl game against North Carolina? I don't know.
Yeah, Brown goes as a grad transfer, so he can transfer and play right away.
Right.
He doesn't have to, because it's a grad transfer. He just graduated on Monday. So that's too bad for South Carolina.
That is. That's a big loss.
And here we were thinking, well, is Sam Howell going to play? Is he going to opt out for North Carolina? He's going to play. Now, Jason Brown will not. You're right. It's going to be Zeb probably as a starting quarterback.
And Colton Gauthier would be your
Be the
backup.
backup, I would think. Yeah, because the other quarterbacks in the Connor Jordan is in the transfer portal, John. So all because of Spencer Rattler.
One guy has decimated the quarterback room at South Carolina.
Oh my goodness, it never ends. It never ends. Okay. Did you want to check some of those D2 schools?
Like I said, I looked at Newberry. Let's just see for fun if PC is doing anything today.
No, I checked that. They don't have a head coach.
Check. Yeah,
they don't have a head coach.
I mean, who's going to
sign without a head coach?
Joey Orrick is still there, the assistant, and that's who a lot of the players. And that was something Monty Dutton brought up in that story I was talking about earlier. Joey Orrick was the guy. He's a former PC player. He's an alumnus of PC. That was who the players wanted before Kevin Kelly was hired. Be curious if they go that route and say, you know what, let's give him a shot. But so they do have somebody there that they feel is capable. But I guess if he's not officially the head coach, it's kind of hard to run signing day.
I see another Wofford. Did you mention a David Powers?
Did not.
From El Paso, Texas linebacker.
Oh,
signs with Wofford.
El Paso. Wow.
El Paso, Texas. So, I wonder how these kids are. I'm looking at the videos and everything, and not just South Carolina. I'm talking about any of the schools. I mean, let's face it, recruiting is smoke and mirrors, right? Used cars. It's used car sales. This is beautiful. This is great. This is everything. You only get a couple of visits, a couple of times, maybe, especially if you're far away, to get there and see it in person, and you're all caught up in the emotion of the moment and the videos and the hype and the Twitter this and the Twitter that and everybody loving you. And then when you get there and you're like, oh, it's sort of like when they recruit you for the Army and they tell you, I saw this was in a movie, I guess it was, right, where they promised you the trip to California or Hawaii and all this kind of stuff. And you get in the Army and they start putting you through boot camp and you realize this is not what I signed up for. My point is, I wonder how many of these kids around the country, once they get to their location at the school, and then they realize, I'm no longer Billy Badass being recruited, being loved up every moment of the day as they're trying to get me. Now that I'm here, I'm just another guy. They realize, this is not what I signed up for.
Very good point. And I think the transfer portal, Phil, has made that mindset a lot easier. Well, if I don't like it here, let me go try something else. But yeah, you're right about the sort of over elaborate social media posts now. But colleges aren't stupid. They realize that's where their future players are. They spend so much time on Twitter and Instagram and TikTok and the like. You've got to be there as well. You've got to be out front there and just looking at, as you pointed out earlier. And that was one thing that caught my eye this morning when I first woke up, is all the elaborate videos. And these are for guys who are already coming in. You're not trying to impress them anymore. So my guess is that's for the next group of players.
We have a question from Myra. We've had more women ask questions this morning.
That's great.
Than we've had call sports talk. It must be the internet thing.
Maybe maybe you're onto something about getting up at 7:00 in the morning.
Maybe they like the goatee. Maybe they like the look. How is the recruiting done? That's Myra's question. How is the recruiting done? Well, in a short story, Myra, recruiting begins at a very young age. All right. And let's just say you're a ninth grade athlete and you're good. You show some promise and you got the academics, and you are inclined to want to pursue a college career in your sport, and you're good. Your coach can help you out by getting the word out. But then in today's world, you need to get out to camps, you need to get out to team camps, you need to go to colleges, go to their team camps in the summer and let them see you in person. And then you'll find that the schools that like you will follow up with correspondence eventually, once that's allowed under the rules. and you like them, they like you, and the relationship starts to grow. If you continue to be a good player in your sport, continue to excel in academics and in your sport, um, the school will then start the recruiting phase where you start receiving all this mail and then eventually phone calls and text messages, and then they can go see you in person and scout you in person. If they still like you, they'll bring you on campus and you get to know each other a little bit more. And if things are continuing to move in a positive direction, you'll come in for an official visit for the weekend. You'll come in for some ball games, and then eventually coaches will come to you and go to your home and go inside your home leading up to signing day. And then you'll decide which school you want to go to, and you sign with that school. That kind of sum it up, Chris?
That was well done. I'm not sure I've heard anybody explain the recruiting process any better. And
Well,
as
it's
elaborate
not
as
rocket
it is,
science.
but it's ridiculous on its face, isn't it? I mean, all the stuff you have to go through just for one person.
Well, and you're talking about you as grown men. You're a grown man. And this has got to be running through Dabo Sweeney's mind, because he started off as a young man and now he's not a young man. I mean, he's over 50, right? He's crossed 50. That's like 52, isn't it?
I think he's a year older than I am. I'm 51.
Yeah. So you look at things differently, I think, when you're over 50. And it's sort of like, how much longer am I going to get on my knees to teenagers? Basically, is what you're trying to do here.
Mm-hmm.
And suck up and kiss up, because you have to do that, especially when you're talking about some of the higher level prospects. Like I said, it's used car selling, and then some have a better product to sell than others do. But eventually, I mean, of course, Nick Saban still does it. But and he's in his 70s.
How much does he do versus his assistants, and the fact that he's sort of the closer, like Spurrier sort of fell into at the end?
Spurrier hated recruiting, though. You know that. He hated recruiting. That's why he always believed in development. And development, he said, was always better than the recruiting. Is get him an average player to come in and he'll develop them. That was his belief. He didn't need to go out and recruit the biggest and baddest player. And he never did recruit. People thought quarterbacks were going to just fall into his lap at South Carolina. It never really happened. G.A. Mangus is the one who went out and got Connor Shaw. G.A. Mangus knew Connor Shaw and knew that he was perfect for the offense they were going to run at South Carolina. Now, Stephen Garcia was a pretty good get. People forget Garcia was a highly rated quarterback.
Still the last SEC East quarterback to beat Alabama.
I know.
As ridiculous as that sounds.
That's hard to believe. But yeah, so where were we? We're talking about Spurrier.
Development.
Yeah. He believed in developing players. That's why he loved beating Georgia so much. And he'd always say, all those great recruiting classes, but they can't seem to beat the Gators. That was a little shot across the bow there. All right. Where are we at? You see anything anywhere else?
I don't. Most of the D2 programs are just still in their recruiting phase, if you will. A lot of their posts are about being out in the state and recruiting for. Erskine's got a cool little thing they're doing, recruiting ballers in South Carolina. And around that tweet, it's got a map of the states, recruiting ballers in Florida and that type thing. So I think the D2 programs are still in their recruiting phase and may wait until February. And then I think we've run through all the D1 programs to this point.
All right, I'll tell you what. It's top of the hour. Let's take a short break so that we can walk around and get our wits back. Get our wits back around us. What do you call? Whatever you say.
And for our listeners, appreciate you tuning in. First off, I am going to pop off because I've got some basketball prep work.
You can't leave me now.
I need to go get some basketball prep work done before I head off to the beach here this afternoon.
Yeah. So, but I haven't enjoyed it. Sports. Steve Wiltfong is reporting that Jackson State and Deion Sanders have a good chance at landing Travis Hunter, who they say is the number one player in the country.
Really?
How would that happen? I mean, really? Florida
Deion's
State
done a remarkable job, and quite frankly, at least this year, he's done so much better than I ever thought he would as a head coach. And obviously, his name recruits a lot. You want to talk about Spurrier and Saban recruiting. I think Deion's name is recruiting a lot, but my gracious, to be able to pull off perhaps the best player in the country, that would be even a stretch, I think, for him.
He says, right now, I'm told FSU is still in communication with Hunter with his camp. This is another thing I have a problem with the way this recruiting has developed. Kids have camps now, and these recruiting gurus love to refer to their. It's like it's like the professional athletes and their agents. Now high school kids they have their camps. So he writes that Florida State still in communication with the Travis Hunter camp. So we shall see how it plays out over the next couple of hours. Could flip from Florida State to Jackson State.
Wow.
Really? I mean, come on.
Boy, Deion Sanders could single-handedly change the face of HBCU football if he's able to start doing that.
Well, I don't know. I mean, yeah, he's done a great job down there. They had 50,000 for their game. Who was that they played at the end of the season? Was that their? I guess for maybe the SWAC championship game, they had 50,000.
They and South Carolina State, to their credit, they've sold out the Celebration Bowl.
Yeah,
I mean, that place will be jam packed.
Yeah.
But that's this weekend.
I'm afraid it's going to be a lot of Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
I'm afraid it's going to be a lot more Jackson State people there. I mean, South Carolina State sold their allotment, and I think South Carolina State has a pretty good alumni base in Atlanta, so they'll have a pretty good number of people there as well. But I think
Prairie
Jackson
View
State's probably
A&M
going to outnumber them.
Prairie View A&M was the team they played for the SWAC title.
Yeah, and they had 50,000 for that game.
That's impressive.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there was a movement there at one point by some of the top black prospects, basketball and football,
to
want to go play for an HBCU. But I did see where like one of those basketball players who ended up going to like Hampton or something like that ended up leaving, saying, or Howard, maybe it was Howard or Hampton. He left saying it didn't meet what he was looking for,
Right.
Didn't
Probably
meet his expectations.
Hampton of those two programs, Hampton has had more success in basketball, so that makes sense.
Okay.
I think.
All right. Any final thoughts from you?
No, but this has been fun. I think this was a good idea you have fostered, and you should do it often.
Well, it's like what is it now? It's 11:05. I started at 6:50, so we're going on 5 hours. It's sort of like being in a dental chair for 5 hours. That's what it's like. It's sort of like
you haven't gone to the dentist in a long time.
Yeah,
if talking recruiting, you're comparing to a dental chair.
Well, if you're in the chair for 5 hours, you got major problems. Hang on a second. Let's see. Oh, Inabare is doing something before you head out. No surprise that Inabare is headed to the NFL. Doesn't say specifically here. He must have tweeted something. Hang on. Before you head out.
Yeah, he has. And he's got a lengthy letter he's written to Gamecock Nation. I've got it up if you'd like me to read it.
Yeah, go right ahead. And go ahead and retweet. Can you retweet it?
Yes. First, I'd like to thank my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ for blessing me with the ability to play the game of football while competing my undergraduate degree. I would like to thank my family and friends who have not only supported me throughout my journey, but made me many sacrifices. I am forever grateful to have them as my backbone. I'm thankful to Coach Muschamp and his staff for recruiting me, believing in me, and giving me the opportunity to play at South Carolina. Also grateful for the opportunity to play under Coach Beamer and the new staff. To all the coaches, trainers, and support staff who encouraged me and pushed me throughout the years, I thank you. To my teammates, the brotherhood we have is truly special. Over the years, we became family. Thanks for the memories and being a part of my journey. Gamecock Nation, thank you for supporting me every season and proving why South Carolina will always be my second home. It was an honor to play in front of the best and most passionate fan base in the nation. With that, my time at South Carolina has come to an end, and I am declaring for the 2020 NFL Draft forever to thee, JJ Mbare.
Yeah, I already retweeted it for you. So
thank
that tells me he's not playing in the bowl game.
I would think so. Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds. My time has ended. So that doesn't sound like my time has ended after the bowl game. No,
Yeah.
that's my time has ended. Period. Just like with Zaquandre White.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know why you would make this declaration before the bowl game if you're planning to play in the bowl game.
Yeah.
That doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
Yeah, I think he's
So,
done.
yeah.
I think he's done. So today the Gamecocks lose their starting quarterback and their starting defensive end.
Wow.
So
as much excitement as they generated on Monday and Tuesday with these late recruiting gets, they've lost some of it today, I would think.
Well, it's the world they've created. It's the world that we have now in college football, where it's a constant turnover. You can't be too high for too long, because news like this will bring you right back down to earth,
no doubt,
in a hurry. And not only that, don't forget they've had 3 pieces of bad news. They lost Barham to Maryland.
Yep,
and they lose in the Mbare to the draft, and Brown is transferring. So it's that from that standpoint, it has not been a good day for South Carolina.
No, 2 steps forward, 3 steps backwards.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay, well, listen, you go get ready for Methodist, no Baptist. Who you playing?
It would be the Methodist University Monarchs.
Monarchs
out of Fayetteville. They are a Division III program. Their head coach, this is going to be a rarity here. Cliff Ellis is going to be facing a coach who has been at his current school longer than Cliff has been at Coastal. This is the 15th year for Cliff Ellis at Coastal. This is the 22nd season for David Smith at Methodist.
Cliff can find some opponents, can't he?
Indeed.
I mean, he can flat out find them. Well, listen, I have appreciated you being on with us and our 6 viewers. Looks like we've had 6.
It's
pretty
been fun.
Constant there. Maybe
I've
they've
actually
added
enjoyed
up.
this.
Oh, wait a minute. Wait, you can't leave yet. Look at that face in the middle. Look what just popped up.
Smitty. Can he move?
I don't know. Can he hear us? Looks like
Jason Brown is out, and I am in.
Smitty, your connection is iffy at best. Has Smitty changed his hairstyle? Has he changed? Has he got more of a slick back?
I like it. Yeah.
Yeah. I like it, Smitty. Like it.
Well, I'm trying to get a hair product sponsor for the show. You've done nothing to help. Phil. But
Ta-da.
I'm trying to do it.
It's a
Since
scary.
we're on camera some now. Yeah.
Oh, you look good, Smitty. You're joining, and you're taking the baton from Chris.
Yes, about to hand it off to the anchor man.
Well, Chris, what was your reaction to Jason Brown transferring? I suppose that was somewhat expected.
At this juncture, I'm not sure, because I think if you're South Carolina, you anticipated having him available for the bowl game. Now, as Phil and I have been debating, I guess it's Zeb Nolan and Colton Gauthier will be the 2 guys to try and go up against North Carolina. I think that, from just that perspective, small sample size, is devastating news for USC.
What are your thoughts, Smitty?
Yeah, I agree. Look, I think we're all in an environment that we're not comfortable with because we get so excited about bowl season. But we're seeing this with top players, lower tier players just enter the portal before bowl season, top coaches. I mean, I still can't get over Brian Kelly taking the LSU before Notre Dame's bowl. Before it was determined whether they'd even be in the college football playoff. The season's not over, but I think we see that inside the business, they view bowl season differently than we do covering the business. We look at bowl season as an extension of what has happened that season, and it seems more and more players and coaches view it truly as an exhibition season and really kind of a jumping off point for next year. And you just see players – they play their 12 and then they think about next season, and even coaches do. And you see movement among coordinators. It's something I don't like. I really don't like it. And it may be because of the month layoff. And now we have early signing period in between the bowl season. I'm not comfortable with it, but I guess we all have to get used to it because it's the new norm.
Could not have said it better than myself. So well done.
Agreed. Okay, Chris, we're going to cut you loose.
Yes, sir. I'm going to hop off, go get ready for some basketball. I will talk to you guys at 6:05 from the HTC Center tonight.
Can I ask you one quick favor?
Certainly.
About work-related, if that's okay.
Please.
If we can do this over the internet. I hate to pile on you, but we're still doing this. Can you put up a little something on Brown and Ibarra and their
get
decisions?
a minute. If I get a minute, yeah, I can.
Appreciate that.
Absolutely.
Talk to you.
All right, guys.
You'll be on. You'll be on tonight. You'll be on.
I'll be on for a little while tonight. Yep.
Okay.
Before we tip it off, so I will catch you guys then.
Thank you, my man. Thank you. Let's see here. Let's see. Got a couple more messages in here, Smitty. No Tennessee.
Okay.
Rodney says no Tennessee State and healthcare sucks. Okay. I don't know what all that means, but that's typical of some of the questions. Have you been following the recruiting this morning? You've had a chance to keep up with things?
Yeah, a little bit. And I tell you that obviously, there's going to be a lot of news about what Shane Beamer is accomplishing at South Carolina. I thought that now I don't know how much you knew, but what you fill me in on Jawan Barham that flipped to Maryland. I've got a take on that, but do you have any intel on why it was that in the end he went with the Terps?
I don't. I've been tied up with this thing since 6:50 this morning. Didn't see it coming. And, didn't see it coming. Don't know why it happened. When I get a chance here, I guess we'll hang with this thing here until I'm hoping the Gamecocks will have the rest of their signees in here by noon. I'd like to be done by noon. I'm not going to stick with this thing, until 2 or 3. Would like to get this thing done by noon. We're still waiting on Keenan Nelson, Jamal Weiss, Demetrius Watson, DeAndre Martin, Anthony Rose, DeQuandre Smith, Kylie Horton, Xavier Short to get signed up, get their stuff in. I imagine it's going to be coming pretty soon. So we'll see what we can find out once we get a break to do so. But, it totally caught me off guard. What's your take?
Yeah, me too. My take is, and obviously, Nick Emenwore and South Carolina has a couple of other linebacker signees. But I was just thinking, when you look at it from a matchup perspective, Mark Stoops doesn't appear to be going anywhere at Kentucky. Billy Napier's just been hired at Florida, and Josh Heupel's entering out year number 2 at Tennessee. And, I was thinking, I think linebacker play is going to be paramount in those matchups because Tennessee runs that up-tempo offense. Heupel's not going away from that. That's here to stay with Josh Heupel. And therefore, that helps neutralize that front 4 pass rush where South Carolina has been strong. I mean, despite the loss of Emenwore. And then Kentucky, Stoops wants to play a physical style against South Carolina. He's bullied them the last few years. So linebacker play is crucial there. And then also against Florida with the athletic quarterbacks. I just watched Monday Night Football. Ernest Jones had a great game against Kyler Murray. And Leonard Floyd, who you probably covered his recruiting, he ended up at Georgia. Great player, athletic linebacker. He and Ernest Jones both got interceptions, were crucial in that game. That's so important against mobile quarterbacks. And Billy Napier, after having Levi Lewis, now he's got Anthony Richardson. I think linebacker play specifically as South Carolina tries to move up the rungs of the SEC East is going to be so big. And now we don't know what kind of player Barham is going to be, but just from what his coach said and following your reporting, I just felt like he was going to be the kind of player that would be really helpful in those matchups. Now he's doing it in the Big Ten instead of the SEC, and we'll see how these other linebackers, develop.
I don't know if you've been following some of Dabo Sweeney's comments today. Well, first of all, they're done for the day. So they had I was one short on my sheet. I'd left off a player. So they actually had 13 commitments coming in, and they signed 12 of them. Kanak has not signed yet. Obviously, there's some concern there, but he was pretty outspoken in talking about the portal, John, and how he's so opposed to how it is, and they need to put back in the 1-year sit-out rule and he talked about tampering and adult parents, messing with the kids, adults, whatever, getting involved and messing with their heads and getting involved in the process, stuff like that. I didn't hear it myself. I'm just going off the tweets. Sounds like he's pretty frustrated with some things right now with the way college football's set up.
Well, this is something you've covered for a long time as well. And you always make this point when you talk about recruiting that commitments are one thing, but commitment means one thing when we're talking about a relationship in life and another thing when you're talking about National Signing Day. And I think Kirby Smart recruits really hard to the bell. I know Nick Saban does. A lot of the top tier coaches do because they ignore commitments to other schools. And I think Dabo Swinney was more comfortable with the environment. What do you think? 5 years ago, the way recruiting kind of was going, and they were having so much success. And look, I'm with him. I don't think it's healthy. I don't think it's healthy at all. I don't like it, and we certainly don't want some type of tampering or interference. But I don't know, Corn. You've been on the inside of this thing for a long time. This is not a new story, unfortunately, that this is the way it's done. And I know that your word should be your bond, but so often on every year, have you ever covered a National Signing Day where this wasn't going on and there weren't big surprises right to the end?
No. There never have. There's always been something, like you got this Travis Hunter thing playing out, So yeah, there's always something. And like today, yeah, who knows who got inside the head of the Gamecock player they lost, Barham, Jayshon Barham. Once things went dead and the coaches were all gone, it's just him and his family and his friends and whoever else is up there that he trusts that's in his quote unquote camp. God, I hate that. Kids camp.
Right.
We got to get back to treating these kids like kids. I'm sorry. We got to get back to treating 16-year-old and 17-year-olds like they are. They might look like 20-year-olds, and we might be pushing them ahead so fast. That's part of the problem, too. We're pushing these kids in our society now to grow up so fast, to get out of high school sooner than ever before, to get to college, to learn that playbook, to get in there now, da-da-da-da-da-da. I mean, that's just wrong. I've been opposed to that from the very beginning. Now, it's not my life. I get it. My life was not like that. Never had that opportunity. I doubt yours was the same way. But I don't see where it's good for hardly anybody. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they benefit from it. They get through high school sooner. I mean, to me, your best year of high school was your senior year. Why would you want to give up your senior year of high school? I don't understand the desire of these kids to enroll early and skip their last semester of high school. Unless your home life is just bad and you need to go somewhere else. I get that. But let's just say you have a decent home life. It's normal. You have great friends in high school, a normal high school life. Man, that last semester is to be cherished.
In most cases, you missed the prom, Corn. Yeah. I mean, that's not a small thing. That's not a small thing to miss baseball season with your buddies. A lot of these players, a lot of young quarterbacks are also pitchers on their high school baseball team. And then they opt out and they gray shirt and move on to college and miss their senior year of baseball once they make the decision they're going to play football instead of baseball collegiately. So no, I'm not comfortable with that. I certainly think we should slow that down. And then and then we see it at the collegiate level as well. Corn, I mean, how quickly do we start talking about kids maybe that come out and have a big freshman year? Well, he's only got 2 more seasons before he's eligible for the draft. And then oftentimes those players, we're seeing it with Enagbare, they don't even out their season. So they come and go in the blink of an eye. And I agree. Now, I think in football, part of the reason that this goes on is there were so many studies done really about the tread on the tire, that the faster you get, financially speaking, and by the way, we all can acknowledge how many of these kids are going to play pro ball. Less than 1%, right? Even these top tier players that we're talking about today.
I have to break in. That's our break in.
Okay. Okay.
I don't know exactly when this one came in. Anthony Rose is now in for South Carolina. I'm seeing that on their master list. I didn't see them. I didn't see that tweeted out by USC, but he's on their master signing list. So Anthony Rose is in. Go ahead, Smitty.
Well, I was just going to say that the whole purpose of this from a financial standpoint is it's about getting to your second contract in the NFL because of the rookie scale. It's getting to your second contract in the NFL. And as absurd as it seems to you and I that you would rush your life to get to the second contract in the NFL when you're 24 years old, that is what they start hearing. The family starts hearing from agents very early on in the process. And yeah, it's ridiculous. It's absurd. I don't know how we put this particular genie back in the bottle, but I want to, because I'm like you. I enjoy the rhythm. Let's watch these kids play their senior year and not load them down with expectations, and let them commit in time. Let them get to school and go out with, the first pretty girl they see before we start talking about what kind of NFL prospect they are. I'd love to slow that down for them. How about focusing on education? Let them choose a major before we start projecting which round they'll go in.
All right. Jason Brown tweeting out, officially in the transfer portal now, officially in. Thank you again, GC4L. I wonder if his good buddy, the wide receiver, is going to stick with South Carolina. They've been kind of attached at the hip. They've been attached at the hip
EJ
throughout
Jenkins.
their playing career. Yeah, throughout their playing career. I wonder if he's going to take the same step. Or, you know what? You got a chance to catch passes from Spencer Rattler. Maybe you might want to stay back and enjoy catching his passes.
Yeah, if you want to go to the NFL, this is a great opportunity to showcase, because now South Carolina has a new shiny toy to play with, right? And what Spencer Rattler used to doing, he's used to dropping back and throwing the football 35, 45 times in a ball game. So the most excited people on South Carolina's campus ought to be the receiving core and the tight ends, because they're going to get looks that they didn't get. When Marcus Satterfield came in, he knew his best unit was the running back unit. He was going to have to run the football, stay in games, shorten games, because they were at a talent deficit in year one. Well, now that you have Spencer Rattler, a lot of that changes, and you've got to defend the whole field. So to me, if I'm a wide receiver, I'm doing everything I can to play with Spencer Rattler right now.
Okay. I'm just taking a look at Jaron Kanak's Twitter page. Nothing's changed there. He still lists himself as a Clemson football commitment. Still has his commitment tweet from back on July 30th attached to his page. Ooh, I just saw something just popped up, looked kind of interesting. Sometimes tweets don't stay in front of me long enough. Let's see if I can find what I just saw. I saw something about South Carolina. Let's see if I can find it here real quick. See what that was. Okay, here we go. I think it was Andy Staples. What is this? He's writing about Jason Brown. Okay, he beat Florida and Auburn after transferring to South Carolina. He's just writing about Jason Brown heading out. Okay. Let's see. Make sure I'm up to date on all the signings. We're sort of in that dead period where we're waiting for more to come in. Of course, Clemson's done. Dabo Swinney's already said they don't have any more to sign today. So, I mean, what do you think about the numbers that Clemson has? As he said, he's looking to sign maybe about 5 more in February. But right now they're looking at a 12-man class.
Well, that's something he's done is quality over quantity. They keep a real close eye, leaving opportunities open for themselves. And that has worked out in the past. I think it begs the question, too, with all of this player movement. Listen, I was in, and I know you were too, Phil, I was in several Dabo Swinney press conferences this season where he made pointed comments about the transfer portal, and eventually Pete Yannany near the end of the season asked another question, and Dabo went into another rant about how he never said he wouldn't use it. I think we are now to a point, because of the movement with the coordinators and the decommitments. And then his comments today, I think Dabo Swinney, I think watching the transfer portal and Dabo Swinney is going to be a fascinating study here before the final signing day in February.
You know, sometimes when you talk off the cuff like that, you reveal your true self. And I got to believe, he always tries to show cool, calm, collected. I'm in control here. I got to believe that this has been the most frustrating 2 weeks or more for Dabo Swinney as Clemson's head coach, between the coaches leaving for good reason, head coaching jobs, between the criticism that he's gotten for promoting from within by people, pundits and all, from the criticism that he took during the season as the team stumbled early, only to finish with 9 wins, but still there was criticism all along the way, to the decommitments, to not having this other kid closed down at this point in time. It might be losing him. I think, to me, that kind of comment off the cuff, to maybe I don't know if he was answering a question or he was just talking to the group. That kind of shows to me the inner frustration that he's feeling right now in dealing with all this football stuff and college football stuff in general.
I agree, Corn. You may have been there, and I'm certain you were covering it the day that Dabo Swinney, he had his rant after losing 5 games in a row to South Carolina, and that was an off the cuff moment for Dabo Swinney. It was revealing how he reacted to a question. And I think you're right. I think he is frustrated right now. It's better to lose one coordinator at a time, right? And instead of both, and your athletic director. And Dan Radakovich was a great ally to Dabo Swinney. So I think it has been frustrating for him. College football landscape is changing, and I don't know that he's comfortable with all of it. And his next move will be his most important. This next season, how he reacts, the mood he's in. Can he keep the good vibes flowing? One thing about Clemson's been a fun place to be, right? Fun place to cover, fun place to play, fun place to work. Will that remain so if Coach Swinney is frustrated with the way college football is trending?
Okay. Tell you what, Smitty, let's take about a 5-minute break here at the bottom of the hour, because we've been going nonstop for about the last couple of hours. Oh, Rodney wrote back to us. He was talking about the player we were talking about who went to an HBC school and left. He said it was a kid who went to Tennessee State, and he left because the health care there was not good. So yeah, that's what that was. Some kid. I remember that happening though. Kid going to Tennessee State, big time player. Don't remember his name, but then he ended up leaving, and apparently because of the health care. We're going to take about a 5-minute break so we can walk around, clear our heads a little bit, splash some water on the face, come back, maybe go to noon, and then we'll figure. Now Dabo Swinney's got a 1:00 press conference, so we got to hit that, and then Shane Beamer's doing a 4:00 deal, so we got to hit that as well. But let's take a 5-minute break and we'll come back. Okay, Smitty?
I'll be ready. I'll review the rankings. I know you don't like to look at the rankings, so I'll review them. I know it nauseates you.
You can report back to us. Okay, we'll be back. Oh, I had to walk around. My backside is dead. Oh. want to go out? Want to go out, Minnie? Come on. The weather's pretty now. Want to go out? Come on, girl. Walking like a princess.
Back door.
Go on. Go. Oh. Okay. Needed that. So sad about Coach Glenn. I have to read this story here. Let's get us back rolling. Dun, 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 dun. Okay, Smitty, we're back. Isn't this much more fun than radio?
Well, I miss our sponsors, so I should give them a
Yeah.
plug before we're off.
Go ahead, do them now.
Well,
You know 'em
we
all?
got to give
Oh,
love to Seawells if we're talking about recruiting. If we're talking about recruiting, it's Seawells. They are synonymous now with your recruiting reports nightly. So got to make sure we give them a little love. And you know what? I'll tell you, you guys did a great job last night talking to representatives from both the Myrtle Beach Bowl and the Cure Bowl. The Cure Bowl, where Coastal Carolina is headed. If you want to follow them down there, that's Monday at 2:30. Just go to our website, sportstalksc.com. You can link right to it from the Cure Bowl. Go support the Shots. And if you want to support our state, the Myrtle Beach Bowl is a great way to do it. It is the only bowl game in South Carolina. So if you want to keep that money here in our state, a great thing to do is to just jet on down to the Grand Strand, get a weekend with one of Jimmy Smith's rentals, and stay the whole week, eat at the great restaurants on the Grand Strand. I'm sure Phil Kornblut can roll off a list right now and hit the Myrtle Beach Bowl.
absolutely. I mean, there's a lot of reasons to go to Myrtle Beach, and that's just another one. Just to follow up on this story about the passing of George Glenf, reading the story in the State, 78 years old. Kerry Rich confirmed it. 32-year coach in Columbia, helped Eau Claire to win 5 state titles between 74 and 96, a record of 471 and 135. Wow. Inducted into the South Carolina Athletics Hall of Fame and the South Carolina Athletic Coaches Hall of Fame. And, of course, he coached Jermaine O'Neal and many, many, many more. Barry Manning, gosh, the list, Joe Rett, Barry Manning, Jermaine O'Neal. He just had that run. You have that run sometimes where it's like one player after another. And he had that at Eau Claire. So, yeah, very sorry to hear about the passing of Coach Glenf today. That certainly takes a little bit out of the sunshine out of the day, to just say the least. All right, let me check around here and see if we've you know what you can
Didn't
do.
they
You
have
can pick
Jermaine
back-
O'Neal and
Yeah, I mentioned him, Jermaine O'Neal. Mm-hmm.
I was
Let's
just going
see
to
if
say,
there's
didn't he have Jermaine O'Neal and Bud Johnson at the same time?
any. Bud Johnson was another.
Did that happen?
I don't remember, to be honest with you. I don't remember if they were there together or there was
I
some
felt like
separation between them.
I felt like Coach Glenf had one team that just was not going to be beaten. You know, that just you saw and you said, nope, that's it. They're the champs. They'd win it for the next decade if they could keep these guys. I remember one of those clubs he had in the early 90s.
Yeah, he had some really good teams. Let's see here. Well, we're waiting on more action from the Gamecocks. No, they still got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 commitments to sign. Keenan Nelson, Jamal Weiss, Demetrius Watson, DeAndre Martin, Kylie Horton, and Xavier Short. All of those are still to be accounted for the Gamecocks in their recruiting class and in their signing class as well. So we're hanging in there waiting for that to happen. Let's see here. Let's see if there's any other comments. No, I think we're good. I think we're good on the comment side. What do you make of what Dabo Swinney said? I was talking about that earlier. I gave you my thoughts. What's your take on the words he's using? And I mean, you weren't there. I wasn't there. We couldn't see his expression and couldn't tell what was in his voice. But what's your takeaway from some of the things he's saying at this point? And let me say this. There's a lot of people out there. I say a lot. I don't know if it's a lot. There's some people out there who think that the Las Vegas Raiders might be in play for him. He was out there for several days. There appears to be some kind of connection between him and Mark Davis, the owner, friendship or something out there. I don't know. That's certainly very far-fetched, I would think. But he sounds like a guy who's getting more and more frustrated with the way things are in the college game.
No, I don't dispute that at all. That's exactly the way I feel, Corn. As I said, a few minutes ago, that Clemson's been a fun place. And it's been a fun place because that's the vibe that Dabo Swinney has. It's fun to cover, fun to work there, fun to be a fan of Clemson, fun to play there. All of that has been, it's been so optimistic. And now is this the first crack in the armor that he's so uncomfortable with where college football is going that he's a bit jaded by it, that he doesn't, that what his dream job is. It still his dream job? Is it his dream job to rebuild Clemson? And we say rebuild with, please, with a wink, because it's a 9-win team this season, still a ranked ball club. But I mean, rebuild to the point where they are consistently challenging for national titles and add to the 2 that he's got and the 3 the school has. Is that his passion? Is that what he's gearing up for? Is that what he wants to saddle up for? Because it's going to be a hard road. It's not going to be easy with 2 new coordinators, new athletic director, to keep the momentum going the way that it has the last few seasons. I'll tell you something else he said this year, Corn, that caught me off guard a bit. I think he was frustrated with the fan base's reaction to some of their struggles. Mm-hmm. He said a couple of times, hey guys, winning isn't easy. Maybe you're a bit spoiled. This is not, we're not entitled to just win the ACC every season. We've been winning it every season for 6 consecutive years, but that's only through hard work that's happened. And a little, hard work, good player development, everything that goes into it. They had the perfect cocktail. So I think he's been frustrated with the fan reaction, with losing both coordinators, with losing Dan Radakovich, who is a tremendous supporter of the football program. I think he's frustrated with the recruiting process, some of the negative recruiting that might be going on out there, what he perceives as tampering, or as you said, maybe the conversations with the kids are different today than they were a decade ago when he, kind of was still a young head coach. Maybe it's not his dream job anymore. And I don't think he's going to leave, but I just wonder where his head's at. Is he ready for this? Because it won't be easy.
I agree. And you wonder how, what's really in his head moving forward. Though I couldn't see him signing a class and then putting it all to bed and then, walking away in January after the NFL season's over and, the Raiders come calling if they do. I couldn't see but somebody's going to have to do that. I mean, if you pull somebody from college, somebody's going to have to walk away from a signing class and from a school to go to the Raiders if they go that route. That would be so against the grain for Dabo Swinney to do something like that.
No, I don't see that at all. I don't think so. There's certain coaches that have done it. You know, you always heard Steve Spurrier would say, now Steve Spurrier played in the NFL. So he would talk about it in the league and he would say, well, I want to challenge myself in the league as a coach, but he had that familiarity with it. Dabo Swinney is dyed-in-the-wool college football. Nick Saban went up to challenge himself, but remember, he'd been an assistant in the NFL. Pete Carroll went up to the NFL and has stayed up in the NFL. But I think that was a unique situation. He was out there on the West Coast. He wasn't like, SEC or like Clemson, Georgia, Alabama type. I know he's at Southern Cal, but I mean, it's a different environment out West than it is in the Southeast. I just think Dabo Swinney is built for college football, and I do not see him taking an NFL gig. I don't think it fits who he is, his personality. I know why the rumors are there because he has 2 national titles. And once you reach it's the same thing with Urban Meyer. Once you reach the top of your profession, people start talking about new challenges. But to me, the challenge for Dabo Swinney is to take Clemson from a 9-win program where it sits currently back to the top of the heap and past Georgia and Alabama again. And I think that's enough of a challenge. I don't think he needs to go look to the NFL for a challenge. I think he's got a good one right there in Pickens County.
Yet, if you follow their recruiting closely, I mean, the players they've gotten are good players, no question about it, the ones in this class. Keep in mind, Smitty, so they've got 12 players signed. 2 of them are specialists. So they've only got 10 position players signed. And Dabo Swinney plans to, of course, sign some more for February. But I don't know that I've seen in a recruiting year Clemson swing and miss at big-time talent like they have this year. And it remains to be seen. I mean, are they going to get Travis Etienne? I don't know that their insiders feel that good about it right now. They might lose the Kanak kid to Oklahoma. That would be a loss. The ones that decommitted, each one of those was a pertinent player, and that has to hurt on the defensive side. And then you look at some of the other players that they recruited heavily and got beat on by other schools. Now, of course, they won some, getting Antonio Williams after not having offered him for a long time, coming in late and just getting him. That was big. But I don't know that I've seen in recent years, since they became a national power, Clemson swing and miss at so many marquee type players. They usually land most of those. They get the hook in there. They usually land most of those big fish that they really go over. It's been a little bit different this year, I think.
Yeah. I would say there needs to be just some level of concern about the way Clemson can compete at the top. Don't you expect them to win the ACC next year? Because I do. I think now that Kenny Pickett has moved on and Wake Forest is going to lose a ton, I think Clemson will be the favorite to win the conference again next season. And that's going to help their recruiting. I think there's a lot a perfect storm that hurt in terms of losing some of these players. Let's not forget they just lost both their coordinators, and Tony Elliott and Brent Venables are key recruiters. And it's no secret they had their eyes on these jobs. That doesn't mean they weren't doing a good job of recruiting, but it's hard to imagine that they were talking to their agent, thinking about this job, coaching every day, and then able to put the same effort into recruiting that they always have. That's hard to do. So I think Clemson is just in a reset right now. I hear what you're saying, and you're right. They swung and missed more this year, but I think that's really due to the situation and circumstances they were in. I think there is if these coordinators work out, Clemson will win its mojo back in recruiting in the next couple of years. I agree with them coming down. I think it has a lot to do with Brent Venables and Tony Elliott being at the end of their time at Clemson.
All right, couple more pieces of news while you've been talking. Kevion Mullins, USC tight end, is in the transfer portal, John, now. Just seeing that. And Travis Hunter Okay, it's now being reported that he's informed Florida State that he's going to Jackson State. How about that? Jackson State to play for. Now you see, that's where, not taking anything away from Jackson State, or I don't know anything about the school. Or I know it's had some really good players in the past. Didn't Walter Payton go to Jackson State? Am I thinking about that right? Did he go to Jackson State? But anyway, that's a case there truly where a guy's enamored by the head coach and wants to go play for Deion Sanders. Wow. And that's a huge blow to Florida State. And here's Deion basically undermining his own alma mater. Maybe he's thinking, and of course, if this hurts Florida State, of course, they just gave their coach there a year extension. I believe yesterday they just announced that Norvell got a year extension. But Deion's eyeing that Florida State job one day, wants to be the head coach there.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's fascinating. And I wondered for a long time why no one had tried this before. I always wondered why someone didn't hire Kareem Abdul-Jabbar to be there, after he was an assistant. I thought, couldn't this guy recruit? Wouldn't you want to go play for Kareem? And it's working out at Jackson State. But I think Deion's also proving he can coach. And he's put together a staff as well. Now this, with the recruiting, I don't know. That's beyond me, because in the past, kids have liked head coaches, but they're not going to drop down that far. From Florida State to Jackson State to commit. That's almost unheard of, but we may be in a new world now. And I was just glancing at those recruiting rankings. As you mentioned, Florida State, they still are ranked very highly. They've gotten a lot of the guys they want, but like Clemson, they don't have a big class, don't have a really large class. So it remains to be seen what Norvell's putting together there at Florida State. We'll see if they can rebound and be a real challenge to in the Atlantic next year.
Yeah. Well, I tell you, the way they played Clemson and being at that game, I mean, I was impressed with their quarterback, and I thought to myself, this guy's got them in the right direction. And then they kind of took a little dive after they played Clemson so closely. Remember, they lost at the very end to Clemson. And then they I think they took a little bit of a dive, and it didn't, and then they got beat by Florida at the end. But, I thought for a while there, they looked like they were making a lot of progress. And I do like their quarterback, and I do like the kind of offense that they run. And Norvell, of course, did great things at Memphis. You think eventually it's going to carry over to where he is at Florida State?
Yeah, I think he just needs enough time there. You've got to win enough to keep the job in the meantime. I was watching you early this morning, and you mentioned that Tennessee was having a good day. And you said Tennessee's always do. What's that?
How did I look?
Like just like you needed a little splash of coffee, and you no, you made the point, and I thought you were right on. Was Tennessee's always got. It doesn't matter who the head coach is. Tennessee kind of has a recruiting infrastructure, and they do a good job of getting that raw material in there. I feel the same way about Florida State and Miami. Don't you think those three schools, they're always a quarterback away from being a real threat? If they've got the right quarterback, because they're going to have skill position guys and defensive linemen. It's just who they are. It's what they do. It's in their DNA. And I think you're right about Florida State. I just think Norvell needs time. He needs enough time, and this might be the opening for him. Now, if you look at Wake Forest, if Wake Forest takes a step back here in the Atlantic this season and Clemson is not a superpower, Florida State has a real opportunity to rise up in the Atlantic next season and then get that positive momentum back for Florida State and relive their glory days a bit.
So what's going on here with South Carolina today? It's not been a great day. I mean, yeah, it's a great day. You're signing these players who we should probably refer to as future transfers. I mean, you're signing your future transfer class, okay? Because let's face it, they're going to be guys transferring out in a year or two. In this from South Carolina and everybody, but I mean, just think about everything from the morning news that Barham signed with Maryland and not South Carolina, And then since then, in succession, in a matter of minutes, we had Jason Brown revealing he's transferring. We had JJ Inabare reveal that he is going to the NFL. And based on what he wrote, and we'll find out more from Shane Beamer. I mean, Inabare was in practice this week, as far as we know. Does not sound like he's planning on playing in the bowl game, just like it didn't sound like Zaquandre White was going to play in the bowl game, and he's not. And now you got Kevion Mullins, tight end, in the transfer portal. So why today? Why is all this happening today?
I suppose, I just guess it's been finalized that Rattler's coming. I mean, we knew that, but now with Rattler, I guess he actually put his name on the line. And
well, you think Mullins being a tight end? You think Mullins being a tight end, and he sees the tight end coming, and he realizes that there's not going to be a spot for him?
That's what I think. And I don't know. I don't know what goes through a kid's mind. It's possible they're thinking, hey, they're going out and seeking out someone to upgrade. So even if I go out and play really, really well, I mean, Jason Brown, here's the truth. If Jason Brown outplayed Spencer, would he start anyway? Or would Shane Beamer start that? Look, that's why I brought him, because I know he's a gamer. Even if Brown looked better on a Thursday in practice, how do you not start someone with Spencer Rattler's track record? So I think that's what's going on. And you're right, Corn. We're in a brave new world, right? These coaches, it's not just about going out and getting the raw material from high school. It's about, you have to recruit your own team every year now. You have to get the buy-in, and you have to make sure everybody understands their role, where they're headed. You've got to stay in contact, like hand-to-hand fighting, because you could lose key players in the offseason if you're not careful. You have to recruit not only the high schools, not only the transfer portal, you've got to recruit your own locker room every year now.
Mm-hmm, absolutely. Just seeing a little note here. Remember Camden Brown, a guy we talked about a lot in recent weeks with the Gamecocks in recruiting, wide receiver from Fort Lauderdale, who had been committed to Pittsburgh much of the year. He committed to Auburn now. That's a big pickup for Auburn.
Yeah, and they've lost some key pieces. Bo Nix is transferring out, and Tank Bigsby, I think, did he change his mind? I think Tank Bigsby, he is transferring as well.
Well, did he change his mind? I didn't see where he changed his mind.
I'm not sure. I just saw a story on Tank Bigsby, and I thought, anyway, the point is, Auburn is a turnstile right now, right? They're coming and going in a hurry.
Everybody is. I mean, what program is stable overall? I guess Alabama. Of course, even Alabama will lose some players to transfer after they finish their playoff run. Maybe Georgia is stable until you check the police blotter. That's about the only place Georgia gets into issues. Is with the police. Well,
yeah, the mean machine.
Yeah.
And now, Corn, I know that Kentucky, this is interesting. Kentucky and Missouri don't necessarily recruit against South Carolina. They don't all, often go head to head just because of where they are geographically. But, Kentucky and Missouri are having nice recruiting classes. I just wonder, South Carolina, they may have lost a little ground to them in terms of recruiting, not player for player, but just where you land on the pecking order. Because Mark Stoops, let's be clear, he's dominated South Carolina recently, and I think that's helped him in recruiting. He was winning with what we would consider kind of mid-level 3-star players, recruiting against other mid-level teams. He's picking up highly coveted players in this class. So it's going to get harder for South Carolina to break that streak against Kentucky, because now not only do they have a good coach and a good system and really good at player development, they're picking up better, more highly coveted players along the way.
Mm-hmm. This is true. Another signing from a state-related player, E.J. Evatt from up in Seneca, signed with Weber State. Now, that's an interesting, back in the summer, back last year, this guy was supposed to be one of the big time prospects in our state and an athlete, football, basketball, baseball player, and track, but he never got traction with the in-state schools. And he went out and took an official visit to Weber State over the weekend, and now he has signed with the Weber State Wildcats.
Yeah, I often wonder about this. This is something you talked about, Clemson swinging and missing. They've expanded that footprint of, they recruit nationally, let's be honest, but Clemson has expanded that footprint. But you're always worried about the back door, right? That you get beat in your own state on some guys. You just hope, for Clemson and South Carolina's sake, that some of these players that have trickled out in the last couple of cycles don't come back to bite them. Now, obviously, Weber State is not beating Clemson anytime soon, but just the overall point that you don't want to lose too many in-state guys. You want to make sure you keep those healthy relationships with high school coaches, because when they do have an impact player, you want that positive relationship in order to aid you, right?
Yes, sir. Everything you said. I actually had to walk away to let the pup in the house, but I'm sure everything you said was right on. Say again.
Yeah, like you don't want to be backdoored. You don't want South Carolina lost a few opportunities when there was all that uncertainty around Will Muschamp, and we'll just keep an eye on what happened in last year's recruiting cycle and this year's to see how they recover from that. And Clemson as well. You just hope they didn't pass on any in-state guys that could have helped them.
Yeah. All right. Let me see if anything. I tell you what. I don't know why what they're waiting on here to get the rest of these signees in for South Carolina. Why these haven't been announced, or why the guys haven't gone ahead and signed. I'm just double checking to see if anything else has come in. Might be about ready to wrap this puppy up. We've been going 6 hours. And let's see. There's just hopefully all the breaking news is done with, as far as players leaving and all that kind of stuff. It's been crazy. Been crazy today. So nothing new in on South Carolina. Still holding with the same group of signees, still waiting on Keenan Nelson, Jamal Weiss, Demetrius Watson, DeAndre Martin, DeQuandre Smith, Kylie Corton, and Xavier Short. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4 in-state guys. They're waiting. I would have thought they would have signed first thing this morning and sent their stuff in and let it be announced, but I guess that hasn't happened, Smitty.
Yeah, now this has got to make you nervous if you're Shane Beamer, right? Not to get those signatures back right away. And this might be the kind of thing Dabo Swinney was commenting on earlier, just how aggressive people are being right up to the bell, and and want to make sure the information is right and everybody has the kid's best interest in mind. I'm with you. I cannot imagine why you would want to make Shane Beamer wait at this juncture, especially with all the positive momentum. I think you can understand, players that may be transferring out that may have been on their mind for a long time, or they don't like some of the situation with transfers coming in. But when you're talking about a high school player committed, and you look what Shane Beamer is building, it's hard to imagine that they wouldn't be excited to go ahead and get that signature in and, ride that positive momentum of a bowl opportunity in their first year and playing with Spencer Rattler in year 2.
Mm-hmm. Well, if you would, why don't you just catch back up on Furman and Wofford and Citadel, because I know they've been announcing signees today. If you want to go back while we have a couple of minutes here, this will give me a chance to catch up on some stuff. If you would pull up those lists, you may have to go to their website, or you might have to go to Twitter, but pull up there. And Coastal Carolina be another one. Why don't we start with Coastal and go back through their signees to this point? If you can pull those up and start going through that, we'll hit these other schools one more time, and then we'll see if anything else comes in on the Gamecocks here. Have you frozen on me, Smitty? I think he has. He's frozen in time, frozen in space. Hello, Smitty. Oh, he dropped. I think Smitty's signal has dropped temporarily, but he'll be rejoining us. So let me see if there's anything else I want to add. I think we have. I think we've hit on practically everything. What a day it's been in many cases. Travis Hunter flipping from Florida State to Jackson State. That's got to be a first for Florida State to lose a player to an FCS program. Even with a guy like Deion Sanders coaching them. And that's just been part of the craziness. Of course, it is signing day, and you're going to have these kind of strange things to happen. And South Carolina got burned here. At least theirs flipped to Maryland, a nearby school. Jayshon Barham. And that had to sting for the Gamecocks early on. But boy, Florida State's got to be just floored over this turn of events, because this guy is supposed to be the best player in the country. And you think you got him, a big defensive lineman, and you're losing to Jackson State. It's got to really sting him. Okay, so I've lost Smitty for the time being. Don't know if he's going to get back with us or not. But I tell you what, we're going to do. We've been on since 6. We've been on since. No, I'm sorry. I said 6 hours. We've been on for 5 hours. We signed on at 6:50 this morning. For those of you who were with us, signed on at 6:50, and so we are probably going to wrap things up here and get ready for the afternoon and get ready for Dabo Sweeney at 1:00 and get ready for Shane Beamer at 4:00 and then sports talk tonight. We'll continue to tweet things as they happen, as we see them, as South Carolina. I mean, Clemson's done. I don't think they're announcing any other signees today. And as South Carolina releases further signings, we'll add those to the master list and tweet those out as well. So for now, I think we're going to. You back with us, Smitty?
I'm back, and I think you were asking for Wofford and Furman signees.
Yeah, if you can. Did you change locations?
No, I'm the same spot. But, my signal. I lost my signal. Hopefully, I'm okay now.
Yeah, I had a weak connection when I first started this morning. I had a weak connection, so I had to move downstairs, get a little stronger connection because everything was moving so slowly. But yeah, if we want to wrap it up, I was just about to wrap things up. If you want to go back over those signees for those other schools before we wrap it up, go ahead.
Okay, yeah. So early this morning, so I've got Wofford in front of me. I'll track down Furman in a moment. But as far as Wofford, you've got Braylon Smith-Sapp out of St. James High School in Merle's Inlet signed. He was the first in LI this morning to Wofford. They also got Lathan McComas out of Westchester, Ohio. He is lineman, 6'4", 276. I guess I should mention, if you didn't see Braylon Smith-Sapp in high school, he's a defensive end, 6'4", 110 pounds. So I'm excited about seeing Smith-Sapp play in state at Wofford. It's about, I guess, from Merle's Inlet to Wofford, it's 4 hours, 4.5, but maybe his family can get up there on Saturdays to see him. SoCon. Also, Kyle Parsons out of Matthews, North Carolina, Weddington High School, a 6 foot, 188 pound running back signed with Wofford, as did Bryson Dickerson out of Bowman, Georgia. Dickerson is a 6 foot, 4 inch, 230 pound tight end. Jalen Marshall signed with Wofford today out of Hiram, Georgia, South Paulding High School, 6'2", 205. He plays outside linebacker. That's Jalen Marshall. I think we've got about two more for Wofford. David Powers, all the way from El Paso, Texas, signing from junior college. He played at Cisco Junior College out in El Paso, 6 feet, 220-pound linebacker David Powers signed with Wofford, as did Clayton Hickston out of Jackson, Georgia, Jackson High School, 6'3", 295-pound offensive lineman signed with Wofford, and that is all that Wofford has confirmed through their Twitter feed today. They may have other commitments that have yet to sign, but that's all confirmed through Wofford football today.
Okay. And did you want to hit Furman up real quick?
I'm going to track down Furman as well.
And while you're doing that, I'll take a look at Coastal Carolina and see what they've got, because they've been signing guys. Well, they've been on the road today. Let's see what they've got. Hopefully. Okay, I just got a note here from Kylie Horton. He's signing at 5:30. Kylie Horton is signing at 5:30. So I guess that means he's not sending his thing in until after sending it in that late. That's my guess. You still with me, Smitty? Or did you drop out?
I'm here, and I've got a list now of Furman players that have signed.
Go right ahead, sir.
Okay, the first Furman signee was Caleb Lyons this morning. I'm trying to get his position and weight. You have to click through a couple of times. I'll come right back to Caleb Lyons. I'll get right back to him when I see his position. Also, Thomas Pylon has signed with Furman. Same situation, though. I can't get his position or where he's from. So maybe I should put this together beforehand. Let me see how quickly I can put this together so I can read their positions as well.
Okay. Well, I've just heard back. I text the players who've yet to sign for South Carolina. I've heard back from three very quickly. Wide receiver Kylie Horton said he'll sign today at 5:30. Commitment defensive tackle DJ Watson said he signs at 3. And commitment defensive tackle DeAndre Martin said he signs at 1. Okay. Now I'm assuming, that could be their public signing. I don't know if they're doing their actual letter then and sending it in then. That's like if Kylie waits till 5:30, Shane Beamer can't talk about him at the press conference. He can't talk about a player that's not signed. I got a feeling a lot of his press conference is going to be about the players who are leaving, Barre and Brown in particular. How you coming, Smitty? Sounds like you're frozen up again. Or it looks like you're frozen up again. Well, in the meantime, I'll do Coastal Carolina. So here is the signing list for Coastal Carolina thus far. Future Shots, as they call them. You have Gerard Cameron Jr., and they don't give you a position. What's up with that, Coastal? 5'10", 165 from Fort Lauderdale. There's no position on this list. Matthew McDoom, 5'11", 175. That name sounds familiar. Matthew McDoom. I think I checked on him early in recruiting. Winter Garden, Florida. Caleb Hutchinson, 6 feet 180, Augusta. Frankie Richardson, 6'5", 295, Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. Wonder what his address is, Smitty. What's his Gettysburg address? Nick Del Grande, 6'4", 280, Lancaster, Pennsylvania. They mispronounced that name up there, but that's how they pronounce it. Evan Crenshaw, he's a punter, I believe. 6'4", 185, Ponte Vedra, Florida. Corey Warren, 6'2", 240 out of Hoover, Alabama. DeAndre Coleman, 6'2", 205 out of Hueytown, Alabama. Elijah Hopkins, 5'11", 180 out of Ocala, Florida. Allen Henry, 6'3", 280 out of West Memphis, Arkansas. Dontrell Jackson Jr., 6 feet 190 out of Harvey, Illinois. Josiah Robinson, 5'11", 210 of Popka, Florida. Trey Brown, 6'1", 235, Margate, Florida. And Bryce Archie, 6'3", 205 out of Powder Springs, Georgia. There you go. That's the Coastal Carolina list. You got that last list we're looking for? What? Where'd you go? Smitty, did you leave the room? I think he has. Okay. Well, I tell you what, this is sort of dragged down to very little. So, Smitty, I'm going to wrap it up because we're not getting much done, and looks like it's going to be a little while for these other Gamecock signees get their stuff in. I'm going to give it one more look here on the Gamecock master list, see if anybody's been added in the last little bit, but it looks like it's still the same. Nothing new has come in. So I'm going to wrap it up. We've certainly enjoyed being on here this morning at starting out at 6:50 and going on here till almost 12:30, bringing you the news from around here as things have happened in recruiting. Of course,
yes, I 4 and 7 Boulevard.
Yep. You just had something come through. I don't know when you said it. You might have said it 5 minutes ago and it just made it through to us. You're dragging. You're dragging. We're going to wrap it up. And Smitty, thank you. And thank you to Chris Bergen. And we'll pick back up on recruiting tonight. We'll hear from Dabo Sweeney. We'll hear from Shane Beamer. It's also an SC Wild night. So the Major Billy Downer will be with us. We'll go back over all the major news of the day because there's been a lot of it. So, and again, stay with us on our Twitter and on our website, sportstalksc.com, as we post stuff. And we'll post we'll tweet out the confirmed Gamecock signees and retweet our list or resend our list as it's updated with these new names coming in. Otherwise, we'll see you tonight on Sports Talk. Thank you, Smitty. I think Smitty is frozen in time. All right. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate you being with us. See you tonight on Sports Talk.